man, I don't know. There's a man down there, might be your man, I don't know. There's a man down there, oh, it might be your man. Just might be your man. I know it. I know who it is. Just might be.
I want to stop.
Are the lights pink or are the?
We need like a.
Live, Jeff.
Okay, folks, we are welcome to. Here we go. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Welcome to our live election coverage of the 2026 Anchorage election. There's 6 assembly races. There's 2 school board races. All kinds of bond propositions. An interesting question about school funding. I'm very excited to be joined for the second year in a row, 2 years in a row, by Chris Constant, Anchorage Assembly Chair. Termed out, buddy. This is it. This is your last hurrah.
Goodness, it's about time. Time for fresh blood and new ideas.
9 years, and you're termed out. We'll talk about your race in a bit, your district. And we have Kevin Cross, recovering assembly member, who in a what a lot of people would say was a smart move. You got out of that thing.
Yeah, call out to therapists. I just want to. It was good. And Chris, my emotional support.
Yep.
Assembly person.
Probably a lot of therapy is required to recover from.
There's some emotional scar tissue, but I cry a lot less.
I got to say, you lost some weight, and you posted a picture on Facebook, and I really thought for a second it was AI.
And then you saw me in person.
Then I saw you in person, and I was like, well,
no,
pretty
it's
good.
amazing what you can do with some finger paint.
Was it after the politics you kind of got more into yourself?
Actually, I hate to put a downer on it. I had one of my best friends. We had my racquetball buddy for 17 years. He's 10 years younger than me. Found out he had cancer and died within 35 days of finding out.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, when you're best friend, I could say if you're playing in the street and the guy next to you gets hit by a truck, you quit playing in the street. So I just got real serious about taking my health serious and not taking everything for granted and just assuming that just because I feel okay doesn't mean I am okay.
Chris, do you find that I'm in Juneau, it's hard to, Juneau's so busy all the time, it's hard to just do anything, physical, go to the gym. Do you feel like you're...
So I think for myself, at least, I make a religious practice of going to the gym several days a week. It's my peace and my therapy. And whether it's in my garage, my friend's garage, or at the actual gym. And so the most successful people are the ones who make time for themselves. Because if you don't, it just eats at you. Because you could do this work all the time. Going to the grocery store is going to work. Going to go for a walk with your dog, it's going to work. Going anywhere. And so going to the gym is definitely my piece.
Well, let's... We did our health minute, so we're past that. Let's talk about some of these races. First of all, the polls or the election closes in about 25 minutes at 8 p.m. So you can go to the drop box. You can, I guess, mail it before 8 p.m. if it's postmarked.
It's hand canceled.
Which is, I guess, the post office is really the only place to do that. So I want to talk about some results so far, the number of ballots we have in. But let's go through some of the races first and talk about. I did my landmine predictions. I don't know if you guys read our landmine predictions, but there's 3 open seats because you're termed out, Felix Rivera's termed out, and Scott Myers is not running for re-election. So there's 3 open seats, and then there's 3 incumbents seeking re-election. So we can start by talking about, first of all, I got to thank our sponsors. What am I thinking here? What am I thinking? I mean, thank you, Kevin. We got GCI. We have our main sponsor, longtime sponsor, GCI. I want to thank GCI for being a great sponsor and sponsoring all of our live streams and our election shows. They've been doing this for a long time, and I really appreciate GCI. The Alaska Miners Association, Deantha Skabinski over there, she's been very supportive. We want to thank them for sponsoring the show here. Northern Compass Group, Mark Begich's firm. He's actually going to be coming by later and coming on the show for a little bit. So we're going to hear from Mark Begich, former mayor, senator, assembly member. And then, of course, lobbyists Kevin Jardell and Jordan Marshall. They're 2 lobbyists in Juneau. They're also sponsoring the show. And then we have John Quick, who has been a longtime sponsor now for over a year of Landmine Live, the podcast. So I want to thank John Quick down there in the Kenai. Without our sponsors, this would not be possible. So I want to thank our sponsors and also our team of, we got Trent, Steven, and Scott back there making the show look good. So let's start with your district, Chris. You can, this is your district. You're termed out. It's 4 people running in the race, but really it's 2 people. It's Sydney Scout and Justin Millett.
Right.
And then there's this Max Powers and Nick Danger. He's always running for stuff.
Yep.
It's a very progressive district. Sydney seems to be supported by and endorsed by all the progressive interests. So It seems like a pretty no-brainer. What do you?
Historic returns have shown about 65% progressive, about 35% other. And in this race, Justin came out as a moderate in his framing of his race, but some of the evidence that people saw was that he was telling one story but kind of had a different way of actually campaigning. There's a new entity around. It's called Red Dirt Campaigns, and it's kind of run by an interesting
I've seen them
character
on the APOC reports.
who just moved here from Hawaii, and I think folks would be wise to study up a little bit on that story because he's doing a good job of consolidating and raising a lot of money, but we'll see tonight whether the juice was worth the squeeze.
I think we've seen over the years, there's a Ship Creek group that's been around for about 10 years.
Yep.
And then there was this Rick Whitbeck and this guy, Zach, tried a thing years ago. And then there was some other, it seems like the conservatives have tried to put these firms together and they last for one cycle or two cycles. And then but Ship Creek groups, they're there. They've been there for 10 years.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like they're trying to follow the more liberal side, which is much more organized politically, to be perfectly honest, right? So, looking back at like Anna Brawley when she ran against Brian Flynn at the last election, Anna Brawley is not a negative person, but her campaign was because it was fueled by an entity that is very negative, and you see that happening sometimes in conservative. When I ran for District 2, there was a political action committee that wanted to support me, and they brought out hit pieces against my political opponents, and I said I absolutely refuse to have anything to do with this. You remember when we did when we had our debate, and you said this is really friendly people. I said most of the time, outside of what happens on social media and what happens when you're running, it's completely different than how people actually are.
The hard part is sometimes you have these Ship Creek groups that are working with the candidates directly, but then you have these PACs or third-party independent expenditures, and you can't talk to them, you can't communicate, you can't tell them what to do or not to do. You can make public statements, but they do stuff, and we'll talk about the South Anchorage race where this became a thing here within the last few weeks.
So, but back to the downtown race, Justin tried to do that, and if you believe signs are the way to win a campaign, he's got signs everywhere, which is interesting, and but the returns that we're seeing in terms of where the ballots are coming from, the volume that they're coming in, just leads to a status quo election for the North Anchorage District.
Yeah, we pulled it up earlier. It looks like there's about 42,000 ballots returned so far, but yesterday was, you said, 31,000, so
33.
So we're probably going to see, we can talk about later some of the historic results.
Well, and I did get a note that we are expecting tonight the count to be published right around 8:30 as usual, and what will be posted will include everything from yesterday up to what was received in this morning's mail, and 2 drop boxes were counted out of the 18. So most of what's going to be counted is from yesterday or before, not today.
Oh, so we're going to, because I think in the past it's been 2 or 3 days before.
Right.
Like what happened on election day. So
they've worked really hard.
If we're going to get more, we're going to get more accurate results.
Yeah, they worked really hard, and I have heard a prediction that they'll be done with the majority of counting and tabulations by Friday.
So Justin and Sydney came on our debate here a few weeks ago, and it was a pretty heated debate. They're obviously some of these races. It was
an excellent debate.
It's hard to tell sometimes how different people are.
Right.
But in that one, it was very different.
Right.
And I guess we're gonna see how the results go. But I just think in downtown, you're there, and Daniel Volins. Last year we had
Zach Fields.
It's so interesting because you got
Cliff Grow before, and then
once in future.
No, you got Fields who she's supported by again, she had a lot of the union backs.
Yep.
Which is interesting because she's never been a union employee. Meanwhile, you have Justin Millett, who was with the firefighters and he was a police officer, and so he's been. That shows that not necessarily the union membership is not necessarily aligned. And I was a union member for 14 years, and I will tell you that oftentimes the unions did not represent the union members. So that's interesting how that pans out. So just because you have the representation and the backing of a union doesn't mean that necessarily the people who are giving the money
you hear that a lot as far as the unions,
leadership. I will offer, though, that if you look at Sydney's resume, she actually has been a union member and is a member of a union right now.
Okay.
But just not an Alaskan union. And I don't remember the exact details. So she is, and I think that there is something telling about when the particular union made the decision that they did, and they were very careful to keep their endorsement very specific. They didn't do any advertisements other than to say they support Sydney. And Justin argued, oh no, I'm supported by the firefighters. He's supported by some firefighters, but I have scores of communications from firefighters who aren't the union who are like, no, we're with Sydney for our own reasons and very specific reasons.
Well, I was
I'm
going
sure
to say,
Justin could say the same thing.
No,
I've got
that's
these
right.
Scores, you know what I mean?
No, that's exactly right.
We all kind of live in that igloo of you hear your own,
Right.
the echo of your own voice.
Yeah.
I was going to say, downtown's kind of gets weird sometimes. Last year we saw Daniel Voland. He ran against Daniel George ran against him.
Right.
And he was kind of conservative, like Justin, but also he was supported by some of these NIMBY interests I talk
Right.
about. These people who don't want any housing,
Right.
or they don't want anything. Voland's been kind of pro-housing, and some of these NIMBY people got angry. And I think everybody thought, oh my gosh, including myself, this might be a really close race.
Could be at risk.
And it was Daniel Voland won by, I forget the numbers, but it was quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
at 62% or something like that.
It was a lot.
Well, and I think the same is at play right now. The NIMBY piece, there are some folks who are surprise endorsements of Justin, but there were fewer this time than Daniel George. And I think that's because Daniel George has spent years working in the community councils and being in the community. So he has this whole persona of giving. Like, he's a member of the community, actively giving, not just like this, oh, who's this, from where, what? And
It just
so-
goes to show sometimes you can watch something and have a really strong opinion about it because you're hearing the noise and maybe you're in the bubble. And then, like I said, he won by, it was a lot, Daniel Voland.
Well, Millet's been very strong in the business community of downtown.
That's right.
And that's his strength, is the business community. Maybe less on the residential side and
Right.
in the community councils, but more on business development.
No, and that's absolutely right. And he's done great in his short-term rental business, his real estate business. And I think that's great for him. And he has. But that precinct is like 200 votes out of probably 5,500 or 5,800 that'll come in tonight. And so it's not where the votes are.
Let's go to the your neck of the woods, Chugiak, Eagle River, Jaybear. This is an open seat because Scott Myers is not seeking re-election. He's running for the state house, I think, but he hasn't really raised much money. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that'll
what he's
be
up to.
interesting to see what Scott decides to do. I think that
He's in Dan
a
Sadler's
lot like
district.
me, what he found out is he found politics to be more like being an emotional pinata, where everybody just wants to beat the crap out of you for things you can't control. So I mean, you are basically, forgive my French, but an oh shit catching mitt.
Well, you were
know what I
talking
mean?
before the show started that sometimes there'll be this great bill or ordinance that people kind of all agree with, but then a few people don't, and then they change it and they modify. By the time it's done, it sucks. And nobody even likes it anymore.
So, this is the truth about it, right? Is that I think most people, and it can be either advantage or disadvantage. The one thing you learn about in business is you learn how to negotiate, but the way you handle business is completely different than government. And you go in these preconceived notions about how things are actually handled because you're looking at the way we do it in business and being successful. When you get into government and you run into all this just red tape everywhere, and it can be very
And
frustrating.
you can't talk. You can only talk to two
exhausting.
people, right, outside of the assembly meeting.
So,
Yeah, there are a
right.
lot of restrictions. And then if you're successful in business like me, about every 48 hours I had someone throwing an ethics complaint at me because they're like, well, you own a house and you're trying to change zoning. And so you're trying to benefit your house. And it's like, or you're trying to lower property taxes when you own a bunch of investment properties. So you must be trying to be self. And it's like, well, I'm a vested I invest in this community. Can't I also want it to be successful? And so it's very difficult for an individual who might be successful in business to get into politics because the naysayers, the NIMBYs, and the agitators like to sink their teeth
And
in
Chris,
that.
would it be easier if, like the legislature, there wasn't the Open Meetings Act where you guys could actually have some conversations behind closed doors?
I don't know if it'd be easier, it'd be different. And
Because right now you can talk to two people,
two
right?
people
outside
except
of the
in
meeting.
a public meeting.
But
And
in the
so
meeting, you can obviously do it.
any meeting, a
But
committee meeting,
that's
a
hard.
work session. Or
It's hard sometimes.
There's some magic to it, and it works.
And
but
they amended the one for community councils because when I was on there, you couldn't even go to a community council meeting
Right.
if there was two other community assembly people going to show up.
right,
This
so
is kind of
now
wild. I mean,
It
this
is
just-
absurd.
Like
Yeah.
Juneau, they can meet. They've exempted themselves, so they meet the caucuses behind
yeah.
closed doors. Half of them get together and meet.
So our
Shenanigans.
legislative process, the muni's legislative process, is different than Juneau. We don't have much of that where you introduce a good product and then it gets whittled into something totally different. It's rare. I call it the reverse Uno. Sometimes that happens, but it's rare.
Well, some of the housing stuff, the zoning, it starts out pretty good, and then it just gets
Smaller
dialed
and
so
smaller
back.
and smaller, right.
And by the
That's
time
a
it's
different thing.
finished, it doesn't really change or improve
Doesn't
things
do much, right? So I think the secret sauce to being a successful assembly member, it doesn't matter what your political stripes are. You can be successful if you know how to work with people, if you're willing
Amen.
to work with people, because despite all perceptions of how divided things are, 99% of our business, 95% of our business is unanimous, and people are willing to work together. And so the reality is, if you are willing to work with people, your projects will get across the line.
So you know what? And he's exactly right. So let me give you a perfect example of that. Because in my 2 years, with the help of working with Meg and all members of the Assembly, we probably did more adjustments to Title 21 in that 2 years than been done in the previous
This
20.
is the building.
Everything
use.
from
Land use.
everything from setbacks and restrictions to off-site improvements to everything. Like the litany is huge, and the way we did that is this is what the public, and listen, this is what most people don't understand. If I'm trying to convince you, Jeff, and I'm trying to convey to you what's important, I don't state my position. Like listen, if I wanted to argue private property rights, I could say the Constitution says it's my property and I pay the taxes. I should be able to do this. I should be able to develop any way that I want. And if I come to you with that argument, you're just and you're more progressive, shut down. But as a conservative, I understand I don't need to convince myself. I need to convince somebody on the other side. So the way I state that argument is, listen, building restrictions benefit me as a property owner because it limits people who can enter the market, and I'm going to do better. So please add restrictions. Please do this. Or if you want to benefit individuals who are disenfranchised and low income, you need to strip back these restrictions to make it more affordable to them.
Well, that's how important communication is.
No, but hold on. But then the conservatives hear that message and say, "You sound like a liberal. You're a piece of garbage."
No, I mean, I remember when you did that.
And you're like, wait.
You did that
we
thing
can
with
both
Meg.
be
and
right.
then
We can both be right.
You did that thing with Meg, and then you started getting very
Well,
aggressively attacked.
It's because
in
I
the public by
used
certain,
used words like equity and stuff, and they said you're a liberal because you're using equity. But this is what's so important about politics, about being an effective assembly person. If you want to get comprehensive legislation, you want to get things moved, you don't dig your heels in and be so obstinate that you're argumentative that the other people quit listening. You have to present your argument in your debate.
Well, I mean,
So when our current list of candidates, the question is then, which of the candidates that are currently running have that ability to convey their message in a way that's going to get
Well,
along,
we see
or are they
this-
going to be confrontational?
we see this a lot in Juneau with certain people that are very loud, and something doesn't go their way, and they start screaming on Facebook or on the radio.
Oh.
On the Assembly, we see, and like I like Keith, but Keith McCormick is on there all the time, basically just shit talking you guys every day on a video, or he'll make comments. As South Anchorage, I can't go on Facebook without seeing Keith McCormick, South Anchorage Assembly member, commenting on some article in usually a negative way against you guys. So in that situation, even if you like the idea of the person, you might not want to work with them,
Right.
Because they're so negative.
I would offer a slight nuance to what you said, Kevin, in that it isn't even about how you approach to communicate in the way they can hear you or whatever. To me, it's about identifying with the people doing the work, or who you may want to work with or have to work with, your shared goal. Like if you can find what you're trying to do together, then you can work through the differences between you and the differences of partisan stripes or whatever the issues are. And so it's oftentimes, in my opinion, coming up with a shared idea of what this thing we're going to do is, and then committing to work on it despite differences until you get to a package that works.
Let's go on to this District 2 real quick. We'll get your thoughts. So it's Scott Myers is not running for re-election. It's Donald Handelin and Kyle Walker.
Yes.
Kyle ran last year. Jared Gerker beat him by quite a bit. Donald's first-time candidate, but he's been involved in the Republican Party. He's kind of politically active. What do you think?
It's interesting because I think Hanlon has a slight advantage just because he's more politically active and he seems to be more involved. He's just everywhere when you go out in District 2. But what's interesting is I can't tell you how many yard signs I've seen with both candidates' signs in the yard.
Really?
So the owners are like, well, either way.
True, man. You guys can both have your signs.
Right?
I've seen that before sometimes when legislative races will put up both signs.
So I felt as if Hanlon did better in the debate, but I got a sense that Walker was a little more, like if it came to negotiations, he would not be as abrasive.
Well, Hanlon was a bit aggressive with him. He was,
and I hate that. I
accusatory
hate that part of politics.
Not being at every community council meeting and not being at every assembly meeting. And Kyle had kind of a funny comment. He was like, "Well, I got 3 kids, man. I watch them on TV."
And that is why, and I love my district, but if you go to the community council meetings, 90% of them are over 65 with no children. And that's nothing wrong with that. Just understand that it is very difficult. listen, it's, where I live, my community council meeting is a 20-minute drive.
Right.
It's a 20-minute drive one way.
Well, we can talk about the
Because it's
community
such a
councils
big
later.
district.
I was president
So it's
of mine
like-
years ago. I was president of the FCC. I mean, I've been around that, and I've just gotten so kind of jaded and cynical about these community councils because oftentimes it's 10 or 20 people. They show up, they take over, they're mad about some housing project or something, and then it's not really the community. It's 10 or 20 people. Now, sometimes it's different. There's an exception. Some are more active. But
So I'd like to speak a little bit about that race as well. That what I found to be interesting, Handelin has kind of played down that Allard approach, going to be pugilistic, and that's his brand, and he has a choice who he's going to be if he's elected. Now, I think Walker's big mistake, if he didn't win, is that he got in so late. He waited until very late, and Handelin had spent half of last year building the support. And from my read of the APOC reports, he's either a treasurer or deputy treasurer, files reports for the Treg Taylor campaign. And so if that's the case, he has kind of a baked-in support network that is very strong
and
and
I think
connected.
Kyle's got more union support, and Eagle River's a little more conservative, and they tend to like more conservative folks. So I think Donald's got the advantage here. I wouldn't be shocked if Kyle won, but I went with in my predictions. We picked Donald as going to be better.
And the super voters and the contingency of Eagle River that shows up the most is also what you might say is a far more conservative. A lot of the Eagle exit people show up, and Handelin supports Eagle exit, whereas Walker is on the fence, and he's like, you got to prove it.
We talked about
and you
that
got to
in the
understand
debate,
that group of Eagle exit is very strong in Eagle River. There's a bunch of people who may or may not show up to vote, because when I ran, there was only 6,800 people out of 46,000 who showed up.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Like-
almost talk to most of those. If you're working hard, you can talk to most of those voters.
And so, where Handelin has it is the Eagle exit is behind them, and they show up to vote.
Yeah,
And he started early.
small but loud and act,
Because they
Motivated.
are more emotionally invested in their local politics than the
Where are you on
average
that?
individual. I think it's a good idea if it works. I think the biggest challenge Eagle Exit has is that we already have, across all metrics of government, there's a lack of participation. And if you're going to create a separate government, you're going to need, listen, we've already shown that Eagle River loves building restrictions. They say they don't, but they highly opposed any Title 21 change. Yep. So my question is, if you love building restrictions, you love all this, how are you going to create your own
Well,
building
it's funny too.
department?
The Matsu Borough kind of, for a minute, was entertaining absorbing them if the Boundary Commission. But then they said, never mind. We don't. For whatever reason, they said, no, never mind. We don't want you. But remember that conversation happened last year.
Try to move a resolution.
I think that anybody who supports Eagle Exit, and I do, needs to spend some time in the municipality looking how government run and deciding and understanding how those metrics work of how are we going to run that appropriately. My biggest fear, and I would love the Eagle Exit. I would love Eagle and Girdwood to join and put a road through Crow Pass, and people hate me for that idea, but I think it would be so grateful
You're going
for
to
a
piss
lot
off the hikers in this.
But you have any idea what that would do to people driving from Wasilla to Kenai Peninsula? It would take so much burden off Anchorage and the roads and Midtown and the disenfranchised Fairview community that's been split in two with the highway. Go around it. Anyway, but the point being
Like
that...
Nick Arm Bridge, I love.
But
it.
it would be economic. Maybe you could do
I don't think it's that much.
You could do a
It's not
bike
that
race
much.
like the
Not
Tour
that
de
much.
France from
500
Girdwood to Eagle
million.
River.
$2 billion.
We
But the
can
point
use
being-
1 year of dividend to build one dividend.
But
1 year
that
we
is,
cancel the
if you're
dividend.
going to create a separate government, you need to understand what it takes to run it. And I think the biggest challenge we have with only 46,000 people is how many people are going to stand up
Well,
to fill those positions.
it's got to go to the Boundary Commission.
Yep.
It's got to be approved by the voters, and then there's a landfill. There's all these
all
other.
the
There's a power
assets,
plant.
the
There's
schools.
There's
That's
all
the
kinds
problem.
of questions of like how does that
Fred
all
Dyson
happen?
called it the Great Divorce. The reality is the divorce decree will be more expensive than the folks in Eagle River could accept, because they would have to pay full faith and credit. They can't just renegotiate the terms of every bond and all the school construction. They can't just magically make it disappear.
Well, so then maybe the answer is not a complete Eagle Exit, and maybe it's not a complete what we have now. Maybe it is like a divorce, but more of a separation, and then doing what we do now, but it's
like
slowly
sometimes
and
you get
systematically
divorced.
separating
Sometimes
things.
people separate and they still live together, but they still date and it gets complicated.
I think
they,
when
they,
we look
they
at
stay in this.
relationship-
They stay in the same house because it's
What-
cost effective, but then they have their own relationships, and sometimes maybe they all come back and.
So the question is,
dinner
what
or something.
are the most
Happens.
important attributes about Eagle Exit that you want, and how do we bifurcate the two so that you get what you want without a complete divorce that causes and destroys
And I
everything?
think the
Maybe
core
it's somewhere in
value
between.
of the conversation is local control, right? That, I
Amen.
think, is the question that can be answered. And there have been discussions about, like, maybe allowing them to have their own board of supervisors with more authority, coming up with processes like that. But
Yeah, but Girdwood has that, and then they kill the Holton Hills, and
No, and
they
that's-
freak
it's
out and
even
show
worse,
up,
like,
and they
so-
lie about what's happening in
here's the
Girdwood.
thing. They fought to
The
get
board of supervisors.
They fought to get their board to have a special role in the Title 21 rules, and so they have to be consulted now before anything happens. And so there was an ordinance recently that you may or may not like that just said we need some structure around data centers. Like, you can't just put it in right in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And so Girdwood, it was in one of the tables, and someone said, wait, we just passed this ordinance. And so the only action was either let it wait for 3 months or just take Girdwood out. So Girdwood didn't get the protection that they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the data center should go up near Healy. They can run it off coal. It's not near anybody. They got an abundance of energy. They got rivers that they can cool it off. And
Well,
it's
they
not
better
like-
not run it on gas right now.
And then they
because,
can
we have
run
a
a
real gas
line. They
problem
can run a
in
power
this
line all the way
state
down to
and this
Beluga.
South
They
Central.
can run a power line down to Beluga. Like, to me, it doesn't have to be in a neighborhood.
Right, and that's the
And
thing.
maybe we do like Elon Musk does, and we just stick them on satellites where you can get sunlight 24 hours a day. And we just
Elon said it's going to be in space.
Yeah,
It's
which
gonna be-
24
The sun's
listen.
going to heat the batteries.
Well, you don't have the
Japan doing
prediction-
it around solar power around the moon,
Yeah.
where you can project with microwaves the power back to the Earth. It's a very
what I'm-
interesting idea.
I love
It's
it.
like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
think
Let's
it's
go. Let's go
brilliant.
before we take a break.
People are like, what is this conversation
going
about?
Someone just tuning
How
in.
can the
What
Anchorage
hell?
Assembly
You watching
support
the
you?
Anchorage Assembly coverage?
AI satellites.
Let's before we, so the polls close in 3 minutes. Or drop boxes close, and you have to. If you're going to vote, you better do it. I mean, if you're not voting right now, you're not going to vote. Let's go to West Anchorage. This is a rematch from 2023. This is Anna Brawley,
Brian
who
Flynn, yeah.
beat Brian Flynn 3 years ago by 17 points. There was a third person in the race back then. So this is the most expensive race. They've both raised well over $100,000.
Yep.
They both came to the debate. It was a good conversation. Both pretty
They were both very
respectful and professional,
articulate.
and they both had their vision. I just think West Anchorage is not. It's not super liberal, but it's more progressive. I'd be kind of shocked if Brian's a nice guy. I like Brian, but I just think Anna's going to win this one by probably quite a bit. Chris, do you have
Well,
any?
she's got experience, and if you listen to debate, her experience on the assembly spoke through, right? Brian, he's great, and I support Brian, but Anna's a tough cookie.
I gotta say, I was impressed. She had
Listen.
no notes,
Hold on.
just nothing, just memory the whole time.
Anna Brawley and I do not look, probably are politically different, but she is probably the single most intelligent person I have ever met. When I served with her on the assembly, one thing that I had respect about Anna when I served with her is that although she had her political leanings, she would shift gears if you could convey your argument and just say, so she would say, I can't support that unless you can come with more evidence and you can convince me. And she actually sat on the sidelines, and I remember some of the stuff, then she came forward and goes, okay, I've learned enough that I support you now. And she would move. She wasn't so ingrained in her politics or personal that she would neglect common sense.
So it's almost like a little on the spectrum there. Oh,
She
okay,
is,
I've
but
heard it. I agree.
Maybe if she is good for her because it's working.
She's the most detail-oriented person that has
Freakish.
served on the body for a
by the way,
long time.
She is the person that in high school I would always want to sit next to in any class.
You copy-
That's how I
you
barely.
copy-
I would just
you
be,
copy
and
how
she'd be
somebody's
like, well, I
test?
don't want to help you, but I feel sorry for you. So here you go.
You can look at the first 5 answers.
Like,
She is
yes, sympathy vote.
detail-oriented, and if she's reelected, which I think she will be, I agree with your kind of analysis. And she moves into leadership. Her challenge will be how to lead and.
So
kind of-
she's vice chair. You're chair. You're going away. She's vice chair.
Yep.
Obviously, they have to organize themselves and figure out who's
Yep.
going to be doing what.
It's
but,
pretty natural that she would, if things stay status quo, kind of move into that role because it's a tough job. There is a lot of detail to leading that body.
And you know what else is that I swear to God, I've never heard one unkind word come out of her mouth ever.
One time she did.
It was
when-
accident or probably taken out of
When,
conceit.
when Forrest Dunbar's wife was up for the Citrus Cities Commission, a bunch of people showed up. There was this comment she made about Trump and Putin last summer.
Well-
and then Anna got really upset about. Do you remember this? She was mad people came to the meeting, and says why people come to the meetings, why people are motivated to come. Sometimes you can watch it on TV later. I don't know why you'd all would come here for this, and she was pretty mad. You remember this?
Oh, I've seen her.
She was
get
pretty mad.
No,
and
I've
she
seen
was-
her get mad, but
she was-
she's never like ad hominem. She's never going to come after you
No,
in public.
I
For,
think-
No, that's
she's-
true. Yeah, I haven't seen
never
that.
gonna
But she was just
happen.
that one night. She was pretty.
and
it can be frustrating.
And I think Brian has a lot of the same. I don't think he would come after people. Seems like a kind of person.
I like Brian.
I don't.
I like Brian.
You know, I didn't get the impression during their debate on your fantastic program that they were like, you know, that there was political differences, and they stated them and articulated them clearly. But you know, it's. I think that West Anchorage either way is going to have excellent representation.
Yeah, well, let's take a quick. It's 8 o'clock. The polls are closed, so if you haven't voted, you're not going to vote. We're having some more guests coming on later. We're going to go through the rest of the races, the 3 other school board races, and then 3 assembly races and 2 school board races. And we're going to come back and keep talking about these things. And we should be getting some results here by 9. They always say 8:30, but it usually feels like it's 8:45 or 9. But
Could be 8:45.
We'll see. Before we go to our first break, I want to thank our lovely sponsors. GCI, please, everyone, hang, there you go. Look at that. GCI just lights up so nice. The internet's so fast. I can't even freaking stop it. It's so fast. Alaska Miners Association.
I feel like I'm watching me in the future.
Look at my screen. Look at that. It's so clear and fast.
Holy crap. Oh my gosh, you look too good.
Camera takes away 10 pounds. I want to also thank Alaska Miners Association for being a sponsor, Northern Compass Group, Mark Begich, and then lobbyists Kevin Jardell and Jordan Marshall, and of course John Quick down there in the Kenai Peninsula, one of our longtime sponsors of live streams. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get back and finish talking about these races.
Dirty low so-and-so.
A little taste of the Allman Brothers.
got the ice. Got the ice. Okay. Are we back? Are we live? I love that. I want to welcome you all back to our coverage of the 2026 Anchorage Municipal Election, 6 assembly races, 2 school board races, a variety of bond propositions. I'm joined here by Christopher Constant, Assembly Chair, termed out. You got, what, a few weeks left?
About 22 days.
22. You're not counting.
Not counting. I haven't been
Okay,
counting for 120 days.
We
Do
got,
you have short timer syndrome? When I was in the union, the short timer, you could always tell him he get ready to retire, he was useless on the job.
No, I'm going to finish strong. I'm going to finish real
like
strong.
those last 6 months.
Dude, I knew this guy named Mike, and he knew how to sleep on a ladder. Dude, that's not a joke.
We also have
Slept on a ladder to look like he was working.
We also have Kevin Cross here, former assembly member who's recovering assembly member. I want to thank our sponsors, GCI. It's just got these lovely mugs. Look at that. Look at that. Wow, we're in synchronization and everything.
Got us trained.
GCI, the internet's freaking mega fast here right now. Alaska Miners Association. I got to say at the break, Kevin, apparently you have some mining claims.
I do. I am, I got the gold fever. I love it more. I call it dirt fishing.
If the Anth is
I
watching,
love
he's
it. Listen, when your hobby is shoveling rocks, you got to really love it. It's the hardest thing you've ever done, but it's so rewarding.
if the Anthus Kabinski's watching, he's literally looking at the different levels of membership.
Oh, man, are you kidding me? I'm just
he's
going
got
straight to the top.
The operator, he's got the business member. So this could be a great sponsorship
No,
for the
I'm
miners.
starting
They
with
might
the
just
end-
recover their investment
I'm gonna
of the
start-
sponsorship very quickly.
I'm going to start with the end in mind and go
Man,
straight to the
this-
greatest
this-
level of
There's a
membership I can.
$5,300 level. I mean,
Well, that's for 5 people, and I don't have 5 people.
Okay.
I have me, myself, and I.
but
and
no,
so-
no joke. If the Anth is watching, he was looking at this during the break. So
No,
I
I
thank
got-
our
I got
Alaska
to-
Miners
so-
Association for.
I'm here to tell you that when you start immersing yourself in the mining community, they're the greatest human beings
No,
ever.
they
Help each other.
and they have a
Here's
good
what you
time.
got to do.
They have a good time.
They like if you want equipment, they tell you what's more effective, and not just that, but just the science behind it. When you start understanding like the history of Alaska and some of these old mining districts and what it's take, and when you understand mining and just how hard these guys worked when they came to Alaska.
And some of the most fun people. Miners.
Well, you know what? Well, it really puts things in perspective when you're hauling buckets of rocks or you're working.
I'm talking about like at the miners convention, you go to the bars afterwards. These guys know how to party. That's what
Oh, I'm
talking
sure
about.
they probably are
let's-
just trying to put all the shoulder and back pain behind them.
We're also going to thank Northern Compass Group. This is Mark Begich's firm. Mark Begich is supposed to come by later. We're going to have him on, former senator, mayor, assembly member. He's got this consulting firm with a bunch of folks that work for him. So Northern Compass Group, want to thank them for being a sponsor. And then lobbyists Kevin Jardell and Jordan Marshall, some good lobbyists down there in Juneau. And then John Quick down there in the Kenai Peninsula. He's been a longtime supporter of our live streams and our kind of projects we're doing here. So I want to thank our sponsors. Let's go back to, and again, the ballot, the polls are closed, or the drop boxes are closed. So it's 8:11. Let's go back to the races. District 4, this is where I live. This is an open seat like you. Felix Rivera is termed out. Oh, we got a couple of folks walking in here. Look at that. Look at that. We got some great people walking in. Felix Rivera is termed out just like you, so it's an open seat. Dave Donnelly, he's been on the school board for 9 years. He was a long time ago a legislator, a House member, a senator. Janice Park is running. She's run for the legislature many times unsuccessfully. There's a third person, Kim Winston, who I could not even find a picture of. I don't even know if this is a real person. I live there, been in Juneau, but there's some signs up for both of them. There's been some mailers. They both raise money. I just feel like because Dave's been on the school board for 9 years and he was in the legislature and Janice has never won a race, I'm going with Dave. Chris, I know you have a different take on this one.
Yeah, I think that a lot of common wisdom is that Dave will win because he's won a bunch of elections before. What I'm seeing that's different here is he hasn't run in a district-specific race since the 1990s. The last time he ran in a district-specific race, he lost. And this district is a pale blue district by its kind of registration and the scores that come with the people who tend to show up over the last 5 years. Plus, there's a national headwind right now against conservatives and for people on the other side. Just today, a Supreme Court justice, again in Wisconsin, I think it was elected. They do judicial elections, which is nuts. But they now have a 5-2 majority in all those special elections happening across the country.
But we, in our local races, we don't see R or D. So
No,
you're
I
saying
get
people
that.
just have a sense of it?
I just think there's a headwind. I mean, everybody knows. That's like the double-edged sword of Dave Donnelly being known is that he is known. And so it cuts both ways.
I might have a bit of a bias because Janice Park would not respond to my email,
Right.
my text, my phone
Well-
call. She would not come to the landmine debate. We do have a cardboard cutout of her somewhere in the place. We can find that later. and
This
bring
is
it out.
this
Kevin,
is
you
what
have
I'm
any-
hoping people see about Dave Donnelly, and I do hope that he's successful. Is that when you look at his legislative experience, that guy understands budgets, and the main cusp of the assembly person
He was
is
the
the
co-chair of the
budget.
finance committee a long time ago.
And if you watch his debate and you listen to him, that he's profoundly intelligent when it comes to all things budget, and that's what we need more of on the assembly is people who are very budget conscious, irrespective of politics.
I
People
think-
who can read that giant friggin' budget and go through it and find discrepancies or things that should be legitimately discussed.
I do think this might be the closest race.
I agree.
I think this is going to be a close. Wherever it goes, it's going to be close. Let's go to District 5. This is East Anchorage. This has been kind of a strange race because George Martinez is the incumbent. He's been on the assembly for 3 years. You've worked with him. He didn't. The first fundraising report, he had only raised like 10 grand. This guy Cody Anderson, and they both came to the debate. It was a very fiery debate, especially afterwards. I called you afterwards. George went off, and it was. I wish it was on camera because it was pretty wild. He was very frustrated and upset with Cody, asking him about being part of the liberal majority and calling him a socialist, and it got very. He had a prop at the debate, a cut straight out of Muldoon shirt, and kind of accused Cody of not living in Muldoon. But Cody's. I met him one time at the debate. Nice guy. He's got a good story, military. He's raised a lot of money, worked pretty hard. George, by all accounts, should be fine here. But it just seems like, I don't know, there's been a lot of attention on this race.
We'll see. You know, that calling George a socialist is so funny because the equal and opposite response is to call Cody a white Christian nationalist, which these slurs don't matter. It doesn't mean a damn thing for our races. What matters is showing up for your neighbors. I think what I saw, George asked a question, what's your favorite part of the district? And I think Cody answered the parks, right? And George is like, wait, which park? Let's talk about what the neighborhood actually is. Is it Chashnu? What are we talking about?
I said
here?
Ronnie's too, that's what I said.
Right.
I heard that. I love Ronnie's.
Sushi.
Ronnie's too, man.
Yeah, and so
Muldoon.
that's the thing that I think is
So there was some
interesting.
controversy about he's where he lives and if he's in Eagle River and if he's living where there was some controversy. This is months ago. I don't know how much that really got out into the public. It was kind of in the political class. It seemed like.
I think there was some good substance. First off, listen, regardless of what you think about George Martinez, he's probably the most articulate, well-spoken individual that you could probably run into. Like,
He's good. He's good at using words. He can use a lot
He's
of words.
very good. I remember, and I don't mean this was funny, but I used to have, Scott Myers, and a couple people used to have this bet that every time he used the word rubric, we'd pay each other $5. It used to be his favorite. It was his
you're
favorite word
rich.
for a while.
It's like a bingo.
So you're
card.
rich.
It was like, I got him $5 anyway, because we love the guy. But I mean, but yes, he likes to use lots of syllables. But in the debate, he did well in the debate. He was very
Oh,
articulate
he
about his
showed
point.
up. No, it was a good.
Yeah.
It was
It would have been
very-
loved to see the after action replay because I know, and I've worked with George. We worked on George and I worked together on different legislation because we were both co-chairs of the CEDC, Community and Economic Development Committee, which oversees a lot of the Title 21 things. And we didn't always see eye to eye on things, but I felt as if we could have dialogue.
Yep. No, and so I don't know where that race goes because of the fundraising variable, and that's one thing that Cody has. He has more money, but George has the incumbency, and it's hard to say.
It just seemed like George hadn't really campaigned until about February.
Right.
Well, but
So
there's a lot of strength in being on the assembly and knowing the topics
Yep.
because when it comes to the debates, and it makes you wonder. But there's such a challenge, which is how many people actually listen to substance.
I don't want to brag here, but we'll say the debate because there's been a lot of forums, but
Yes.
I think we were the only one. Actually, a friend reached out to me and said they were asking about the South Anchorage race, and it kept saying Zach Johnson, and he asked it why Zach Johnson, and then eventually it said, well, Bruce Ferguson didn't come to the debate, and it was the landmine debate.
Right. The debate.
So
Well,
the
do you know-
ChatGPT was plugged into because we were the ones that it was using.
I have a lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, Kevin, I trust you on the assembly. Who should I vote for?" And I usually just send them a link to your debate and say, "Make an educated decision."
yeah.
Oh
it's
man, and
smart.
he's
I'm
signing
just
up.
like-
He's got the Miners Association form.
I'm filling it out right now.
He's
I'm about to
filling it
put in
out.
my credit card
I mean,
information.
What a great use of their sponsorship money. So I think George will probably win, but if Cody won, I wouldn't be like shocked.
Same.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if Brian won or Justin, I'd be surprised.
Right.
Last race for the assembly. This is a very interesting race. I want to talk about this one for a second. It's Zach Johnson, incumbent. Bruce Ferguson, this conservative guy, who responded to our invitation for the debate and then canceled 2 days before, and really with no reason. And then Janelle Sharp. Now Zach's raised over 100,000. Bruce has raised quite a bit of money. Janelle's raised not as much, about 18,000, but they're all kind of campaigning. This group popped up about 3 weeks ago, who it was called Friends of the Good Guys. I was trying to figure out Cheryl Frasca, who's a kind of known conservative treasurer, kind of like the Ship Creek, the Paula Delario.
Who's also Janelle Sharp's treasurer.
Which is interesting because there's, rules about coordinating. They're saying, they're just doing numbers. Anyways, they sent out a mailer to progressives, Democrats, saying Zach Johnson is too MAGA, he's for the MAGA agenda, he's blah, 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 all these different things.
And the same people
He's
sent another
not
one.
MAGA at all.
And then the same group sent
I would say that he's on the left.
That's what, I would say he's center-left.
Center.
I'd
say he's center.
But then they sent out another mailer to the conservatives saying he's a rubber stamp for the progressive liberal assembly. And so Cale Green, my buddy, was part of this operation. He got paid about $3,500 to put together the artwork. They sent out 3 mailers. I think it was a pro. So it's funny because it was pro Janelle, they called it, and then it was pro
Donnelly.
But for this South Anchorage race,
So
it was pro
interesting.
Janelle, pro Ferguson, but it never said anti-Zach, which to me it's like anti-Zach.
You're right.
They're trying to confuse the voters.
Very dishonest.
So the only thing I would say that is, not conservative about Zach represents the strong, voice of Girdwood in a lot of things. And so I've always assumed like conservative values are small, limited, effective government and private property rights. Because if you're not free on your own property, are you free anywhere?
No.
Like, you know what? Like, that's why I pushed back on a lot of the restrictions, and I don't like the STR restrictions or anything, because how can you tell me what I do inside the walls of my own house?
Well, I like Zach, and he came to our
so-
debate, and he was very engaged. He kind of came out with the Holton Hills people, which kind of bugged me a little bit.
That's the point
he was
I'm
a state
making. You're
trooper.
exactly right.
He's not some like liberal nut. And I think he's going to win. I think this stuff's probably going to backfire a little bit.
He's also very even keel.
That's it.
He articulates his point very well, even if you don't agree with it, and he's not insulting.
He's the most centrist person of the body. He's the political middle.
He's
almost like
a
John
few times
Littleton.
he's been kind of a swing vote, hasn't he?
No, he has. He's gone
the other
either
way.
Yeah, and so
kind of like a Mr. Daniel Voland.
Yeah,
He's done that a few times. Uh-oh.
You know
Who's
what's
back
interesting? It's the South Anchorage really comes up some very strong moderate candidates.
Yep.
Just like, and we like I just said,
Weddleton.
Weddleton was. I thought there's what you hear in the media, and then you get to know the guy, and there's what actually comes out in the digestion.
but then Randy beat Weddleton. Remember that?
Yeah.
And that was in the pandemic moment with all of that rage that was in the system. So we'll see if that
I don't-
that whole thing perverse politics.
I don't know much
for
about this
wrestling.
Bruce guy. Do you guys know anything? I mean, I've seen some of his videos. He's
seen his signs all
seems
over.
quite conservative. He canceled debate. I was frustrated because I couldn't get an actual cardboard cutout. I had to
It's too
use the
late.
old Nick Danger cutout and paste a picture of his face on the cutout.
Did
You know,
the photos similar?
At least Janice Park, I could order the full cardboard cutout from AT Publishing for $200.
For the longest time when I got into real estate, I didn't have a headshot, so I took a picture of David Hasselhoff and put photo similar underneath it. That's
can
kind of
see
what he
that.
does,
I mean,
just like photo similar.
Honest hair. Let's just
Like
let's go through the 2
Labrador
school board races. We'll take a quick break. We're going to bring on Daniel Voland on the panel, and then we're going to wait for do you have
Any minute.
Are you getting a text? Because I want to know. We got to be first here. School board seat C. We don't really cover the school board races. This guy, his name was Alexander Rosales. He's an unhinged lunatic. He came after me 3 weeks ago for not hosting school board debates and tried to publicly kind of attack me with this Alaska Rants nut, something more. I forget his name. And then Ivan Hodes doubled down on them, and they were actually working with each other against me. Anyways, the guy said some crazy shit.
You sound like a
He's way
conspiracy
out
theorist
there.
right now, Jeff.
Everybody should invest in aluminum foil stock.
Oh my God.
So a year ago,
I would cover this
this
beautiful
Rosales
head.
guy wanted me to do a debate. I said, look, we don't do school board debates. We don't have the resources or time. I'm in Juneau. And then I said, well, best of luck in your race. This was a year ago. Then he comes back and says, are we doing the debate? I said, no. And then he shares this email from a year ago and kind of attacks me. And then this Marcus Moore person from this Alaska Rants, it is a rant. They basically just put out these crazy rants of just stream of consciousness. He shares it and says I'm a hack for not giving this Rosales guy a platform. And then Ivan Hodes, who thinks he's, Rosales is a Nazi because he said something good about Hitler and he saved some lives or something, a tweet a year ago. So he hates Rosales, but then he says, I'm wishing Rosales good luck. I said, best of luck a year ago. So then he attacked. The whole thing's crazy. These people are nuts, all of them. So Rachel Blakesley, I don't even know her. I saw her speak at the Anchorage caucus. She seems fine. She's going to win.
I think there needs to be a sobriety test on social media. That like there should be a
Gotta
little
blow.
thing
Did I
on your
sound crazy?
laptop
Did
when
I
you
sound
blow
crazy?
into it. It's like no,
Did
you
I sound
can't
crazy?
comment.
Did I sound crazy just then in my...
No, not you. I'm just talking about people in
I think I
general.
sounded a bit... It's like this guy and that guy.
I have been that guy who was like, that probably wasn't so wise.
So we agree Blakesley? Or was that
Yeah,
okay.
Blakesley isn't going to be very strong.
Rosales ran last year, and Margot Bellamy beat him by quite a bit. And then Seat D, we got...
You know, one notable thing about that Rosales candidate is the Kelly Shabaka rescission of her
Correct,
vote. I
yes.
think it's worth noting that there was a strong division among the Republicans. Some fell in behind Rosales, some voted for him, and then after the fact said, wait a minute, and some were just like, no.
So if the folks watching didn't see, Kelly Chewbacca, who's now some kind of watchdog person, which is quite hilarious, she posted a picture of the ballot, voted for the Rosales. People started piling on, put on some of these statements he made about, it was something like, well, Hitler actually saved some lives.
Saved millions of
He
lives.
did some good, it was bizarre stuff. He had these weird accounts like Kekis Manius or
Leviticus.
something. I don't know what the fuck it's called, what the hell it is. And so...
The first cuss word.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on that. So we can say whatever we want.
You're fine.
We're not the FCC. So then after Chewbacca saw all this stuff, she's like, "Oh, I rescind my vote," even though she already voted.
How do you do? Can you do that?
No, I mean,
No,
you can
no, she
publicly,
just told everyone
you can
who
publicly
she
say,
endorsed
like,
him to,
"I
don't
screwed
vote
up."
for him.
So she went and found two other people to vote for the other one.
Maybe.
is what she did.
Maybe.
Okay, you gotta vote. You
Cancel
gotta
the
offset my vote. I don't know how you do that.
I think that was a worthy note to add to the conversation.
So we got school board seat D. We got also open. These are both open because it's Dave Donnelly and Andy Holloman are termed out. So we got Paul McDonough. We got Dustin Darden, who's here in the audience. Hi, Dustin. Sharon
Good
Gibbons.
to see you, Dustin.
I think Dustin kind of dropped out a few weeks ago, even though it's way past the deadline. And then Sharon Gibbons has not.
He was on the
I
ballot.
can't find any APOC reports for her.
Right.
So I'm gonna just call it for McDonough right now.
I think that's fair.
I concur.
Yeah, we don't really go into the school board
Yeah.
stuff too much, but okay. So we got.
That's a very difficult one, and it really
Citywide
should
race.
be.
Oof.
And
yeah, they
it
should have
really-
those district. They should
I
have
concur.
those broken up. Into
100% agree. It should be like the assembly. It'd be interesting political races because what you would see is you'd see a merger of two candidates working together.
I mean, think about how the mayor has to run statewide, and then every school board member has to run. This is crazy.
Citywide. Yeah, no, it's hard for them.
Or citywide.
Yeah, it's 200,000 people. It's 70,000 voters, and you're trying to reach them all.
And they don't raise much money.
No,
for the
30,
most part.
50 grand.
They don't
yeah,
raise much.
30,
They don't
50
raise nearly
grand.
enough to. Mayoral candidates are raising, many hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Let's go to a quick break. It's almost 8:30. Hopefully, we're going to have some results. We're going to have. So the way it's going to work, just like in the past with this vote by mail, it's one dump. It's one, result, and that's it for the night. And then they're going to have more tomorrow and the next day, and as more ballots get
And the
counted.
clerk predicts that the majority of the ballots will be counted by this Friday. They're kind of ahead of the curve.
So we're going to take a quick break, and then we have Daniel Volan from the Anchorage Assembly. We're going to have both downtown North Anchorage Assembly reps here at the table. So we'll be right back. I want to thank Chris Constant, Kevin Cross, our sponsors, our team. We'll be right back, folks.
It's not an open meetings violation.
I want to point out here, by the way, that on my Alaska mining, and when it says who. Dude, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Their sponsorship
One way I pay, but I just can't go out that door. No, 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 ain't
Are we live? Hello. Hello, folks. We're back here live. Results are in. I want to just real quick thank Chris Constant, Kevin Cross for being here on the panel. We're joined by Assemblymember Daniel Volin from downtown Anchorage. Hello, Daniel. The results are in. Trent, go ahead and share my screen, please. I'm looking at this for the first time. I'm just looking at this. We're going to share the screen. Here we go. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. So let's go through this. So we got, Sydney Scout is up by almost 18 points here. So quite a bit. We have only 4,000.
Oh, Sydney's really
11%.
Yeah,
so,
but you're going to get another 1,200 to 1,500 votes in that race. That's
so
it.
okay, that was one we predicted. Donald Handelin, again, we predicted that he's up by 9 points.
Yeah.
No, 11 points actually. Brian Flynn here, Anna Brawley, she's up by quite a bit, over 10, 12 points almost. Now what did I say? I said Donnelly. Okay, I don't want to brag here, but he's up by a few points. Now this is
narrow.
but what do we say? We said this will be the closest race, right?
Yeah, and it's less than 100 votes. That one is
Yeah,
subject to flip.
6,700 votes, 17%.
That one can flip.
This is very
89
close.
votes.
So this is one we're not going to call yet because it's so
that's
close.
interesting.
Too early.
Look at George. Wow, way up.
George is stomping it.
Nowhere even
Yeah,
close.
you did really good on your. If
Yeah.
that was driven by your debate.
We
really
did say
good.
George. Okay, I did say George, but I said I wouldn't be surprised. Now Zach Johnson again. Look at this. So even if you,
Zach is doing great.
I mean, Janelle peeled off 11. I mean, if she wasn't in the race, this might be a very close race.
Well, and also
But
if
he's up by
if
9
you-
points against.
If you watch their discussion on the landmine, she was basically like, "You're right, Zach."
Okay, Rosales, as we predicted, just a murder here, just a bloodbath. And then also we got McDonough here.
Paul, yeah.
Wow, man, did the land? We're 8 for 8 as it sits. Can somebody hire me?
That's impressive.
8 for 8.
Yeah.
Okay, well we're gonna get. That's all we're gonna get, right, Chris? Tonight we're not
Yeah,
gonna
that's
get
it.
any more. Let's go through this one more time for folks who just tuned in. This is the one result. How many votes? 42,000. This includes 42,000 votes, right? And if we go over here, we had. This is basically almost all the votes. Is this correct, Chris? All the votes?
yeah. Wait.
The
I want you to
ballots
go
submitted
back.
to date, 42,000.
I want you to go back to those results, and I want you to look at the total vote count. And I think
17%
obviously,
right
well, I mean, just look per district, like what the total accumulation
Yeah,
is.
so-
Remember, there's 46,000 people per. And
So
what is
we're
the
at
total?
11% here in downtown. Sydney Scout up by almost 20 points.
So before you complain about your local government, just look at those turnout numbers.
Donald Handelin up by 11 points. So look at this, 16%.
Right.
Eagle River compared to 11% downtown.
I can tell you that you already have more showing up in Eagle River.
Look at this,
for
West
one
Anchorage,
than we did.
20%. West Anchorage, we got Anna Brawley up quite a bit over Brian Flynn.
Good turnout there, by the way, with over 8,000.
Midtown 17%. I mean, yeah, we're talking about 100 votes. I mean, 131. I mean, less than 100 votes, right?
Yeah, it's less than 100 votes.
So this is very close.
It's 89 votes.
Yeah.
It's too close to call.
15%
we're
here.
calling that one tonight.
How come downtown's so low?
So there's going to be about another 1,500 to 2,000 ballots coming in. We'll be able to do the math for you on the number that Justin would need to flip that. It's impossible.
The citywide here at 17, but some of these obviously are a little higher than that. West Anchorage, we have 15% here.
I
in
think
East
it's
Anchorage.
interesting that
Look at
West
Zach.
Anchorage
Zach's
was-
got almost half the vote there. In the
total votes 10,000. That's almost double.
Look at this,
almost everybody else.
25% in South Anchorage.
South Anchorage typically has one of the higher turnout rates. I want to go back up to George though for a moment because I heard you guys talking earlier.
Yeah.
Initially he didn't raise as much money. Cody Anderson raised more. But George is really well known in his district. He's been involved for a long time. Through community council, but also when he worked for Mayor Berkowitz. This is no surprise to me. And I think, too, the issue around the weird tax situation, Mr. Anderson taking out the residential exemption for somewhere he wasn't actually living.
We
That
talked about
doesn't-
this controversy.
That
yeah,
doesn't
it was-
play well with voters, especially at a time that the municipality's messaging hey, we have to make some tough budgetary decisions. And then to go and try to place blame with municipal staff. So I just want to congratulate my colleague George, and also just state for the record, this does not surprise me at all.
I will tell you this, as a real estate broker for nearly 30 years, that is extremely common. Most homeowners don't. They don't even think about it, that, oh, I've been filed an exemption, I moved, I should notify them. In fact, I'm willing to wager that anybody here at this table who's had one has probably moved and not notified them in an amount of time. If you have, you're the exception.
No, I've been in my same condo since 2012.
Oh, there you go.
I lost my.
But I will
when
tell
went
you
to
that in the
Australia-
hustle of moving and doing all this stuff, notifying them that you moved and doing that is such a minor, like,
But also, Kevin, most people are not running
I
for
think
office.
it's political.
Most people are not
when I
running
went
for
to
office.
Australia and I got back,
But-
they checked your dividend. I was gone for
Yep.
almost a year. They took my exemption away for 1 year.
Which I think is a beautiful way to
Which
do
they
it, to
share your
my
dividend
assets.
information
And
with the state.
maybe we
I
need
have
to look at,
a
should it
different-
be an automatic
I
rollover?
have a different take on what the takeaway was from that. The takeaway for me wasn't that it happened. The takeaway was the fact that he blamed the city staff. Oh, they made the mistake.
Right.
Instead of saying,
Look,
hey,
look.
I did this and
Let's,
I fixed
let's explain
it.
this. So he was taking an exemption in Eagle River, correct? And
And
he was
his property
living
that he
in
owns,
in
That
East
he-
Anchorage.
it must have been his primary residence
Yep.
at some point,
And
filed for
then
the exemption.
he moved into town to a church property where he's living tax-free and rented the place to, I think, a family member, and then was continuing to claim the private property tax
And
exemption.
still had and didn't notify them that he had relocated.
They didn't know. And then,
Yep.
again, you're right. It could be a mistake. Mistakes happen. But to me, the deal killer was when he blamed the city staff for doing something
Yeah.
wrong. It was like, no, you
I-
got to own your shit.
I don't know how much of that impacted the vote. I will tell you this, that momentum is better than money.
Yep.
And I agree with what Dan said,
Yep.
and that George is very active in East Anchorage.
Yeah.
And that although he didn't raise as much, if I have your vote, then I don't need your money.
And I think that was George. I think that was
Right?
George's
Here we go.
thinking.
Let's go through some of the bonds here. So we have,
Oh yeah, we didn't even look at that.
let's see here. Let's start. Okay, so we
I
got.
want to take a moment to thank GCI
Oh yeah,
as
look,
well.
look,
Hey, and so GCI for gonna call it.
Since I'm not
Gonna
close.
call
Gonna
it.
call it
For
We're gonna
everybody.
call
George.
it for Paul McDonough and Rachel Blakesley. Okay,
And hopefully
for the
Dave
school board.
Donnelly.
Maybe.
So look at this Proposition 1 capital improvements. It's tied. It's basically tied. That's fascinating. Can we pull up Proposition 1 capital improvements for the Anchorage school?
Hey, wait. It's
So this is
man,
this is
that
not
is
this is not the
close.
$12 million.
Wait.
Right, Dan?
You
Not
call
the-
that tied, but you're saying Dave's ahead. So I just want to
It's
say
49 point. Okay. It's,
Look at this.
it's 2 points, and Dave and Janice are 2 points. This is almost even.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
that's right. But
Okay,
the
this
difference
this one,
is 100.
Anchorage roads. No, I voted for this one. I voted for the roads. I voted for that. The parks, recreation, obviously, yes.
Parks funds are popular.
Anchorage Metropolitan Police Service, yes, but closer. Community facilities, capital improvement, yes.
By the way, I will let you know as a District 2, Eagle
Area
River, anything that they want for property taxes that says
barely
does not affect Girdwood or Eagle River and Chugach, I vote yes on.
Chugach State Park
I'm
access.
like, you guys want
No,
this, you can have it. I'm not going to get in
I
the
want,
way.
I want it for the
That is
Chugach
not
State Park
crazy.
We
access.
appreciate
I want to give a shout out to Paxton Welber, who's over here in the studio on the Stewart Trail article about One Man's Mountain. We're getting some marked signage over there for the Stewart Trail. That's 50%. That's passing. Where's the $12 million tax levy?
It's failing by about 100 votes.
Wow. So is this it? Anchorage School District operational. Look at that. That's basically almost tied too. Look at that.
And the
Damn.
school district bond is down by about the same amount.
Charter amendment to remove. I didn't even know what that was. I read it. I was a yes.
It just strikes the
Yeah,
references
I read it. Seemed
out of
pretty
the charter.
standard to me.
I'm really surprised that Chugach and Eagle River can vote on bond measures that don't impact our property.
We can go back to the main screen there, folks.
So you know why? This goes back to the Eagle exit question, and that is because we are when we pass a bond pledging the full faith and credit of the municipality as a whole. And so the backstop payer in all of that is the people of the municipality to the financed bond markets. And so the reason why everyone has to agree is because we're all on the hook.
This is like when my wife buys stuff on Amazon with my credit card.
Yes.
Somebody's got to pay.
But you have an agreement.
I had a friend.
Full faith
I
and
love
credit.
it.
I have
I
a
love
friend.
it.
He's actually quite wealthy, and he's not divorced, but he was married to actually a Russian. He was married to a Russian, and her mom came to visit a couple years ago for the summer, and then I was talking to him, and I go, "How's it going?" He goes, "Not great." I go, "What happened?" He goes, "The mother-in-law discovered Amazon, and it was 4 to 5 packages a day." You brought that up. I
As
don't know
a
where that
man
came
with,
from. but
with
it's
many,
a story
many
that-
Russian
it's
and
a true story.
Ukrainian loved ones, I will tell you, if that is your plan in life, develop a love for root vegetables.
She was visiting from Russia, the mother-in-law, and she did find the
You have
Amazon.
like
so
5
this is a
different
true
kinds of potato
story.
dishes at every meal. Just throwing them
So,
out.
so let's talk about Daniel. You're going to be on the assembly for 2 more years at least.
2 more
Chris
years
is
at least,
leaving.
yep.
He's termed out. We got really, to me at least, no surprises. If Dave pulls it off, it's going to go from 9-3 progressive kind of majority to 8-4.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, I heard some of the conversation you were having earlier tonight about working together despite political differences. And I will say, I'm sitting at the table here tonight with 2 of my favorite colleagues.
What about me?
Well, and one of my people that I know,
A guy.
What's
a
up,
great interviewer.
dude?
A great debate host.
You know, but there are political differences and nuances between us. But Kevin and I were able to team up very effectively on a lot of housing-related issues.
And transportation. On the
Transportation,
AMATs.
yeah. And really, I think that we are going to keep a good team. I'm encouraged by these results tonight. You know, you were talking about Zach Johnson earlier. I think Zach is doing a great job. A focus of his is public safety. Now, him and I don't agree on all the housing stuff all the time. You know, the Holton Hills you brought up. So I think what we have is a team that can be collaborative. You had also mentioned, Jeff, earlier, or maybe it was Kevin, people who can take time with the budget and understand it and go through the big fat binder. Anna Brawley is a budget whiz
I
through
concur.
and through, and so I'm glad that we're keeping her. Yarrow has stepped up along with Anna and myself as one of the co-chairs of the Budget and Finance Committee. And so experience, I mean, it is hard to learn this job. It takes, I think, at least a year to really get into it.
Yep.
Build the relationships with staff, know the drafting language for resolutions and ordinances. And I think we have a team right now who can collaborate and is very intellectually curious.
We were talking about last year your race against Daniel George, and I kind of compared this South Anchorage race to that. A lot of noise, a lot of attention on that race.
Yep.
But I just figured Zach's kind of he's a trooper, you know,
Yep.
he's just a well-spoken guy, he's not crazy, and there was a lot of noise around it, but I just felt, three-way races can be weird, but I just said Zach's going to win,
You know-
and he's up by, 9 points against Bruce Ferguson.
Yeah, Zach has done a lot of work, really learning about our utilities and enterprises and the port. So we all have our own niches. I really focus on transportation. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Transportation Committee and then also AMAT's Policy Committee member. Everyone has their bailiwick because nobody has the bandwidth or the capacity to be an expert in every different thing. So we really need members who can press in their area of interest. And I think we will continue to have that, even though we're losing a lot of institutional knowledge with my counterpart for District 1, also Felix Rivera. So we're going to step up. We're going to keep the municipality
So Dan, are
running.
you going to be the chair? How does this? Is Anna going to be the chair? You guys got to do it
You guys
live,
gotta
right?
leg wrestle?
We're gonna have to figure that out.
Leg wrestle
Wow,
over his interview.
wow, Kevin, that was
I know what I'd like to see.
that
Yeah,
was below the belt.
What do you mean?
yeah. Leadership
Full
will
contact sport.
change over. I think I will just put it out there. I think Anna and I, whoever chair, vice chair, whoever it is, are probably well poised.
When does this happen? In a few weeks? I mean, they certify the election, then they have an organizational meeting. Is that kind of how it goes?
So this is one of the few areas that assembly members can have conversations in a way that doesn't, where Open Meetings Act is not as much of a factor because we are allowed to organize ourselves. So there's lots of conversations
Wait, so
that are gonna happen,
on this
coffee.
topic you can talk. Not. I thought you had to do it live.
Well, the election has to
Yeah,
be
we
live.
vote. We take
but
a vote.
People can, according to all of the rules we've been kind of instructed, caucus on the question of leadership only. It's the one question.
Oh, so you can find those 7 votes.
It is a secret vote, right? It's like the vote is
secret
not
ballot.
produced. It is not producible.
But you can have conversation with more than two other people
Yeah.
before the. Oh, I didn't know
It's
that.
the one thing.
Yep.
Because the law provides the vote can be secret.
Now tell me this. Next year's a mayoral race, so in a year. So there's not going to be an assembly race for 2 years. Because you've been in the assembly for a while, 9 years. Does that dynamic do anything when you know the assembly's not going to change for 2 years
Yes.
compared to last year and the year before? You knew it was going to change in a
Right.
year.
So here's what I think the practical realities of what's going to happen. The next 2 years this is going to be a very young assembly. So Daniel and Cameron will be the most senior members. Daniel is in year 4 right now. And so there's a lot of experiential learning to figure out how it all works. And they're all up to the job because anybody really can do this job as long as they're willing to work
Are
together.
you going to go back, Kevin?
No.
Not in the foreseeable future. But maybe
So-
when I become old and curmudgeon-y.
I'll be the
So-
first to
and like-
endorse you when you
But what
decide
happened-
When I
to
become
run again.
emotionally dead inside.
Right, is the balance of power will shift for a while to the administration. The mayor will become more powerful as the assembly has less chops. And so they will learn the chops because conflict creates the opportunity to learn how to be better.
Oh my God, God forbid Suzanne LaFrance actually has some like power and she does something with it, you know?
I don't want to speak against my good friend, the mayor.
That was a dig at her a little bit.
yeah.
We did. I will say I got to give her respect. We went on the tour about a month ago, and I get in your car, and you made this joke about carpool karaoke, and I look back, and she's in the back of the car.
Yep.
And we had a 2-hour drive around Anchorage with Chris and the mayor, which I mean I've been pretty critical of her, and for her to do that, I said that, I wrote that, and I said that. I was kind of respected her for doing that.
Yeah, and so that's practically speaking what happens. And they have the assembly will have a couple years now to start to experiment, do more, be a little more bold, take some more assertive actions, get some more loud feedback from the community. But practically speaking, in October, the next assembly race practically begins.
Mayor's race.
No. The mayor's race is on right now
In
for
April.
all practical purposes. Like, according to APOC, you can file to run 18 months in advance of your race. And so what's coming is the mayor's race is on, and in October, the assembly race.
But so far, nobody's filed to run against LaFrance. I mean, there's been some rumblings of Natasha von Imhoff, but so far she has not. Now, going back in time, it seems like the mayor picks up an opponent around the summer.
Right.
And we're going to be joined by a very special guest quite soon here who has some just very specific insight into this matter.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that. But it seems like June, July, August is when the opponents kind of make themselves known for the mayor's race.
And from my experience of working with Suzanne before she became mayor, regardless of what you think of politics, her heart is in it. Like regardless of what you think about her decisions, she doesn't take it lightly.
Yep.
That's the one thing I've discovered when I worked with her on the assembly is that her heart. She puts 100% of her heart into it.
Let's go through the results one more time. The one round of results. Then we're going to take a quick break. We have a very special guest. I'm very excited for this man. He's one of my favorites. He's one of our sponsors too. We love that. We love our sponsors. Let's go. Just pull up the screen there, Trent. Let's go through one more time. This is again. We have one round of results tonight. That's all we're going to get. Sidney Scott way up over Justin Millett. Not a surprise there. Donald Handelin up over Kyle Walker. Again, not a surprise. Hannah Brawley way up over Brian Flynn in West Anchorage. Not really a surprise. Dave Donnelly up a very small amount
If
over.
you want to hold here for a minute, I would note in 2020, Felix Rivera on the night of the election was up by 30 votes only. And so
Was that
I forget who it was. Blake, what's her name?
Kathy Hensley, right?
Hensley.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is he picked up about 300 or 400 votes from the first drop to the actual final vote.
Yeah, it's very close. I mean, this is a very close. Midtown Anchorage. Dave Donnelly's up by about less than 100 votes. George Martinez up well ahead of Cody Anderson in East Anchorage. Zach Johnson, incumbent, up well over his closest opponent, Bruce Ferguson. Janelle Sharp with about 11%, and then Rachel Blakesley for the school board just way up over Rosales, that unhinged lunatic who came after me with his friends in a very weird way. And don't come after me, dude. Don't do that. And then Paul McDonough up 47%, way over 30% Sharon Gibbons. So that's the results we have for now. That's all we're going to get tonight. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be joined by a very special guest. I'm very excited. I'm not even going to tease him. If you want to see who this is, you're going to tune in and you're going to watch segment number 4 here for our election coverage. I want to thank Kevin Cross for being here, Chris Conson, we got Daniel Voland, of course our sponsors, GCI, Northern Compass Group, Mark Begich. What a great firm. If I'm going to be doing something big, I'm going to hire Northern Compass Group. Alaska Miners Association. Kevin Cross is, I believe, just signed up to be a member, or he's in the
I did. I
process
named
of-
you as my sponsor of
I'm
the
the main
Alaska Miners
sponsor.
Association.
We love that. And
Secret
we have,
handshake.
of course, we have Kevin Jardell, Jordan Marshall, lobbyist in Juneau, and John Quick on the Kenai Peninsula for being a sponsor of Landmine Live. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be joined by a very special guest. when we come back. Thanks.
All right.
Downtown all night, you drinking beer and everything, you feel bad because the person you love has walked out the door. What you gonna do? You can't go to church because it's Monday night. The preacher's bowling or something like that, so you can't get no help. There ain't nothing you can do, go outside and cry. You've probably been there once or twice in your life, unless you're so many little people up front. Yeah. Sky's crying.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Said worse things.
Are we live? Yeah. Here it is, folks. We're back. Very excited to be back here with our Anchorage election coverage for the 2026 6 assembly races, 2 school board races, a variety of bond propositions. We have Kevin Cross, Chris Constant, and Daniel Volan, and we're joined by the one and only Mark Begich, former senator, mayor, assembly member.
Dog catcher.
You've
East
been
Anchorage High School
recreational
AGDC gas line consultant. You were in Juneau recently,
Yes,
testifying
yeah.
before the resources committees.
Where'd you go to elementary school?
Naka Valley, Lake
Naka
Otis.
Valley and Lake Otis. There you
Real
go.
schools.
So you just got here. Look at that. A lot of things. So again, I want to say assembly member, two-term mayor.
Things, that's the title.
That's what I said. Two-term mayor.
Alphabet soup.
You got the Senate seat. You had to leave for a little bit. Matt Clayman came in there for you, senator, and then you're back, and you ran for governor. You're in Juneau right now. So you just sat down with us. You've seen some of these results.
yeah.
What do you think so far?
Well, wish
these
the
races?
turnout was higher, but we'll take it. It's what is about 40,000? Is that the number?
42 right now.
42 right
Probably
now.
get up to about 63.
Yeah, so there's more to come. I think it's an interesting race. It does show that voters are satisfied generally with the body and the people that are elected, and that the city's also, if you look closely at it, it's more moderate. It's not as red as people think.
Why do you think we go back in all these races? I mean, it's 60,000 votes, 58,000 votes. It's most people just don't vote, not even close. Even in the mayor's race, it's not even that high. It's higher, but
It's higher, but I think most people, well, first off, I think this is a unique time in politics. People are, I think, frustrated on both sides of the aisle about just the way the system is working, which really isn't working. I think a lot of people are just agitated, and so some just say enough is enough, and I think you're seeing a little bit of that. People just give up on the system, which is a problem, because why? You want people to believe in the system. And those that come to me, and I'm sure these guys have heard it too, and they say, well, I'm just fed up, I'm not participating. Well, frankly, I have about this much time to listen to them, because if they're not participating, even if they're not satisfied with the outcome, then they should not divorce themselves from it. A good example of that, you said it with the gas line. I mean, the current governor beat me in an election, but here we are working together on a project because we both believe in the same project. Doesn't mean I agree with him on everything he's doing, for sure. And there's a lot of people unhappy with him, but people who just get frustrated and say, well, I'm giving up on the system, really, they're partially to blame to why the system is what it is. Without them participating, you got to participate to make it change.
I moved here in 04. You were mayor. I was 19.
Met you at a bar, didn't I?
I was working at Platinum Jacks. I was
Platinum
bar
Jacks.
back.
Yeah.
And you came in. It was after the
Visit Anchorage Awards.
it was that, or maybe it was,
No, it was.
the mayor's ball. Yeah.
No,
and you
'cause we
came
came
in
in tuxedos.
20 deep, and I'd been here for a couple years, so I knew who the mayor was. I didn't know, I wasn't like a political person, but I knew who the mayor was, and it was him. And I'm bar backing. I'm not even bartending. I'm the guy who's getting the kegs, changing the kegs,
Right.
bringing the drinks. He walks in 20 deep, and they're wearing tuxedos, and I'm talking to the bar. I go, oh my God, it's Mayor Begich. I'm like, and I walk up to him and I said, I'm wearing like bar back clothes, like black Dickies and a black shirt. And I said, I'm Jeff. Nice to meet you. And he goes, I'm Mayor Begich. We talked for a second. He goes, if you ever need anything, you come see me. And I was like, I remember this like it was yesterday.
Yeah, no.
And so I was going to say is this like nostalgia because
We're here.
because you were mayor,
But you're not a bar back.
You were visible.
Bars behind
Dan
you.
Sullivan was mayor. He was visible. I'd say Ethan less so, Bronson less so. It just feels like when I first moved here, this city was really cool. Downtown was fun. We'd go hiking. We'd go. There was a big crab shack downtown. It just felt better. Maybe it's nostalgic for me, but when I moved here and you were mayor, and even when Sullivan up to about 2015 when the price of oil crashed, it seemed like the city just was better.
You were going to say them, and I'll follow.
Well, I want to say that when you think about a relationship, if you think about just a personal relationship and then it's politics in general, there's usually one of the key indications that there's issues is when one party quits communicating and they quit showing up to the conversation. And we see that in the electorate right now, and I think that's a concern. Those individuals are disengaged. It isn't because they don't care. It's because they don't feel heard, they don't feel represented, and therefore they've become emotionally disconnected. If you're in a relationship with somebody and your partner quits talking to you, you don't say, well, you're not talking and so you're the problem. You say, how do I bring you to the table? And how do I make sure you feel loved and appreciated? And right now, I think politically, people don't feel that way. Just because you're boisterous and passionate doesn't mean you're necessarily right. It just means you may be loud and making the other person feel as if they're not heard. And I think what everybody needs to do is chill the hell out and be kind and considerate to people and do what we can to bring them to the table so that we have better policy.
So I agree with that. I just want to add, though, I think the numbers are going to show when all the ballots are counted that we have a higher than average participation in this election. It won't be at the level of a mayoral race, but it will be just below that. And in fact, other than 2020, when we had probably record turnout because everyone was stuck at home. Yeah, everyone was stuck at home and needed something to do. This is going to actually be one that shows up. And the legislature has just passed. We're waiting for the governor to sign an elections update bill that will help us clean out the rolls because the state holds our election rolls. And we propose that
This is SB 64, which has not been transmitted to the governor yet, but it's passed both
we
bodies.
anticipate that there's about a 20% or 15% correction of people who are no longer here that haven't voted that are going to run through that process more quickly. So the numbers will get closer to actual. And so I'm not so down. I wish more people participated, yes. And I hear the concerns about the divided kind of polity and people kind of disconnecting. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do when these big things are happening. But the reality, I think, is going to prove out by the end of this week. We have a good number.
I just got a text from a lady, not a lady friend, but a female friend who said, "Can you guys get one more guy in the panel? Can you guys squeeze?"
Yes.
Hey, but
Yes, we will.
I invited all the candidates. I invited Anna. I invited all the candidates. So it's like you got to show up to be part of any of this.
But I have to say this on what you just said. Two things. One, I agree with you. And it's why what you saw when I was mayor is it didn't matter what group it was. I was showing up.
I saw you all the time.
Right.
I was a regular resident person. Right. I was young, and I saw you all the time.
People who opposed me, I showed up. I engaged them. I appointed people to the board. I didn't say, "Oh, you didn't support me, so you're out." I said, "No, you got some talent. We're going to put on there." When I was mayor, and some of the people that George Wirch had, which I beat him in the election, we kept. Dennis LeBlanc, a great city manager, in my opinion. Heather Handyside, I can go through the list. And I think what's happened is the society we live in today has gotten more polarized, not because maybe we disagree 100%, we disagree 20%. And they've taken the 20% and treated it like 100%. And if I did that, I would never have talked to the governor, period. I would be done. And instead, said, here's a project we can work on, let's figure it out and work on it together. And we have, and we're continuing to do that. I think people have taken politics so personal now. It's the number one thing now when people get married. It used to be religion. It's now who'd you vote for. It's unbelievable based on data.
Numerous
when
articles
you don't go
on
to church,
these divorces.
Right.
People get divorced over who they voted for. There's been numerous articles.
Yeah, but I think it's what I tell people is, look, you can disagree with people. And I do. I have plenty. Chris and I, Dan, we've talked about stuff, and we may not always agree, but I don't take it personally. If you don't like my idea, that's your decision. What my job is, if I think my idea is better, I'm going to try to convince you. But maybe you have something in your idea that I could meld into mine, or vice versa. But I think what happens is we come absolute.
Well, people
I don't like you. You don't like me.
Yeah.
Idea. Cut your loose.
They go in their silos and they only talk to their people.
I mean, I do know.
That's all they associate with.
And you'll notice what I don't do much. I don't do X or whatever hell it's called now, Twitter,
I'm on there
Facebook.
a lot.
I don't do. You notice I don't. I have them, but I don't do them.
You know what though? I'm stepping up my social media game.
You started making some videos.
I'm making some videos.
I've seen some of those.
I don't love being on there. I don't like spending a lot of time on social media, but that is, I think, a way particularly young people are accessing local government. They aren't reading op-eds necessarily or email newsletters, but they're watching videos on TikTok. They're watching videos on Instagram. And so part of it, I think, is if we want to increase the electorate, meeting people where they're at. And increasingly, social media, you see people who are mastering that. Zoran Mamdani, for instance, is making all of these highly produced videos, and he's very effective, whatever you think about his politics, about getting the message out. And I think it's really important that we find ways to do that in a professional manner, to really reach out particularly to young people and get them involved.
I don't disagree with that, but your algorithms are the same people that will support you at the end of the day.
Sure.
Let me ask it this way. I go on Kenai Radio, I'm on there at 4 o'clock, most conservative radio show in the afternoon with Mike Picaro. They may not like me on there, but you know what? I go on there on a regular basis.
Well, you've even filled in.
Yeah, I filled in.
I've heard you host, and then they call and they yell at you sometimes, and then by the time it's over, you're kind of like, they're like, oh, you know what?
It's not too bad.
I actually agree with that.
But the goal, we have to think about ourselves in this way. If you are in elected officials or formers, we have to engage in forums we're not used to. And the reason we do that is if it doesn't matter, I have had young people who have been on the other side of the aisle come onto my side because I expose myself to them. Now, they may not like it, but then they go, oh, wait a second. He's not a crazy lunatic, devil hair, and all this other shit. They act. Can I say that? Okay.
No FCC monitoring.
Yeah. Oh, good. And then I don't want you to get kicked off there.
This is the interwebs.
Yeah.
They're going to come in.
They're going to come right now. I can see them coming. There's no one working at FCC. Don't worry. But
That's true.
Hey, they're short 3 commissioners.
there we go. But I think it is incumbent upon us, and I agree with you. In office, we cannot silo ourselves to the same algorithms that we're used to. We have to break the model. And when we do that, I always find this. I always did when I was mayor. I'd go to probably some of the most conservative groups. Or I'd show up in groups that don't have forums. I remember going to the Snow Machine Association, but it's called something else.
Anchorage Snow Machine Association.
Yeah.
I was on the board.
There we go. I just showed up one day. And they go, what's he doing here? I said, well, I'm the mayor. I'm interested in what you have to talk about. Well, you know what the big issue was? The trail from Anchorage out to the valley that crossed Fort Rich property. And there was a problem because the military wouldn't allow it. So I said, hey, that seems like a good idea. Why don't we fix this problem? But we sometimes...
Fix it?
We got part of it, not all of it. Because the military, one thing about the Army, they don't give up land.
After 9/11, they seized a bunch of land for the Chugach dog
That's right, dog mushers.
And they don't even use it. They just seized it. And it now just sits there as trees.
But we did solve the problem with the military when they tried to build a fence along Muldoon out in the back. But the point I'm making is we in these positions, and same thing with you, Jeff, you have a control of the media, right, to a certain degree.
Well, control.
Well,
I like that.
you do. You got the forum, and we're here, right? And I think we have to figure out what are we going to do to help create the discussion, I hate the word dialogue, discussion among different ideas. The challenge of ideas create better ideas. We don't have to love each other in the idea, but we have to communicate to find common ground.
Well, like I said before, I think it's just not just dedicating yourself to your people.
Right.
I like Trump, but I also hate the dividend, and I'm very vocal about things that other people. So people, they love something I say, but then they hate something I say, and they call me about it, and I say, well, that's what I think. I'm not trying to appease you or appease this person. Right. I say what I think, and you can like it, but I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Let me build upon that and let you know that when I was on the Assembly, it is the outside perception is not the reality, that we worked and we were all very respectful of each other. And all you have to do is listen. Just watch the YouTube videos on the muni.org and watch the work sessions and know that your Assembly representatives, regardless of the party, are having intentional, meaningful dialogue and discussion that for 99.9% of the time, I would say you said they agree 80%. I think it's 99% of the time. There's obscure things that get mixed up there, but we all want safe streets. We all want snow removed. We all want the homeless issue resolved, and that they are working intentionally for your benefit.
Yeah.
And that what it takes to get into office is not necessarily the same skill it takes to be an effective politician, because there's what the perception is in social media, and that perverse, and then there's being a good legislator.
The traits of a good candidate are different than the traits of a good legislator, and they rarely overlap.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Begich over here might be
Politics and policy
one
making.
example.
So
Big difference.
I think that is spot on. First of all, much of what we pass is unanimous. We have a consent agenda at the top of our agenda every meeting, and all of that stuff, unless something is pulled, automatically gets approved. But I think a lot of it boils down to if you are an Assembly member, if you are newly elected, what does being effective look like for you? You can be someone who wants to be a political pundit and have a microphone and make a splash that way. Or you can be someone who is willing to collaborate with your colleagues and pass legislation. Because at the end of the day, what you need if you're going to be an effective legislator is the respect of 11 other people, your Assembly colleagues.
We talked about social media earlier, and we talked about this about an hour ago, but Keith McCormick has been doing these videos for about 6 months. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but they've been very critical of the Assembly. He's really doubled down on this meal thing, which is so bizarre because it's so little money, the Assembly meals. But it's like every time something happens controversial, Keith's out there doing a video attacking you guys, and I guess I wonder how that. I see in Juneau how that works when these people they just professional agitators, or they love to attack sometimes their own colleagues, even people in their own caucus.
There was one like him before. Only one.
Oh, my friend Jamie.
In my 9
She's
years.
down in the legislature.
Yeah, and so
She's in June already.
he's-
I like Jamie.
But he still has.
She's getting better. She's getting better.
Yeah,
She's
he
getting a lot
still
better.
has time to choose who he's going to be. But
Yeah.
practically speaking, he's choosing that path.
Keith and I have talked about teaming up on some housing stuff soon. I have hope there, and I think there is a time and place to be critical and to sort of stake your ground and say, this is something I don't agree with. But I think you have to be open, like you were saying, Mark, to other people's ideas. And it's not all about this partisan fighting. At the end of the day, it's filling potholes. It's what keeps our city running. It's how do we deliver services and meet the expectations of Anchorage.
Well, it's also
How do we
recognizing sometimes
replace
you're in the
our-
minority. If you're in the minority, you have to recognize that. You can't change that.
And politics don't address our aging AFD fleet. I'm excuse me, our fire department and police department vehicles that are falling apart.
So I want to go down that road a little bit. Like you were celebrating the glory days of Mark Begich mayor, and we were living.
And
a
your
time-
point? Can we continue?
They were great times.
Let's go back to that.
They were great
Let's talk
times.
about my greatness.
2008 happened, the global financial meltdown, and then 2015 hit here, and our economy has not resolved itself yet. The work you're doing on the gas line with the governor is the work we need to do to restoke the engines of our economy that they're booming. Because in the broadest sense, it's not working very well.
What happened is 2015, price of oil went down to 30.
Right.
And then the revenue sharing stopped.
Yep.
And the city didn't replace that. We should have a sales tax. I think we should have had a sales tax 10 years
right,
ago. But
revenue
instead
conversations-
of replacing it, we just started cutting snow plowing.
Right.
We started cutting other service. We started cutting to balance the
But
budget.
it's not so easy
and
to
that
replace
stuff catches
things.
up.
Only the voters have that right. And so what I'm getting to, though, is that there are some fundamental headwinds that we have been struggling with since then, that we need the tactic skills and the values of the people who were working then. And I feel bad for the folks who are going to be leading over the next couple of years because the financial crunch, until there is an economic engine coming, is going to be like 2016. 2017, when I first got on the body, we were passing budgets that had massive cuts in them. And it was painful, and it ended up pushing people out onto the streets. And so, in order to get back to that shining city where everything is great, we need an economy that works, which takes all of us working together on those kind of macroeconomic
Well, until we fix it, I mean,
conversations.
we see this right now. People
Well,
are
we've-
going to the valley, they're leaving state. There's other options. People don't have to. People who are mobile can leave, and many of them are leaving. A lot of my friends have left.
And we're
to
also
other
doing this
places.
in the midst of a major financial shift in the ways people spend their money, okay? Because COVID changed a lot of things.
Everything.
I used to eat out twice a week, maybe once a month now, because I learned how to cook, right? Didn't have restaurants to go to. Now my wife and I rarely go out. And so people look at bars, look at the amount of income.
all going up.
Bars are dependent because the new generation has seen what alcohol has done to their parents and done to their loved ones. And so the number of people that are going out drinking recreationally is diminishing
How's Wild Birch doing?
significantly.
Yeah, I
The
would.
number of bars on the market for sale is astronomical, right? And so we see these changing demographics financially and trying to figure out what that looks like economically.
How's your bar doing?
Yeah, I would say, we're doing fine, I would say, because also you have to understand, Anchorage, and yes, I will brag about the time, that was the last major renovation to the city.
Yep.
We built the convention center, added to the museum,
Mountain
built
View.
multiple fire stations, redeveloped Mountain View. I can go through
Denina Center.
Denina Center, Lake Otis and Tudor, fixed the
North
PAC.
Point Bluff.
North Point Bluff, the facility right off of Mountain View, Glen Square. I can go through the list, right? But what you have to do, and we started, people forget this. They think of the great 5 3/4 years. They forget the first half,
Right.
which was we walked in on a budget that had a $44 million hole in it on about $250 million. That wasn't like pocket change. That was real cuts. I had to get the unions to go to a freeze. I had to lay off. I fired everybody at the library. People forget that. That was a headline. Begich lays off 22 librarians because I had to restructure that facility. So the potential's there, but what happens is, and this is not to the guys that are in this room because I know these guys, but I can tell you most elected officials are afraid to take the step.
Yep.
And the step was, imagine when I told my staff, oh, by the way, we're going to the library today. We're going to go to Assembly Chambers and we're inviting all the librarians and everyone there. What are we doing? I'm telling them all, they're all laid off and we're restructuring. and they're all out of a job until I re-put it back on the table. That wasn't very fun, frankly. But 5 years later, Mountain View opened up for the first time in 23 years. Girdwood had a library. Eagle River had a library. They just didn't have a library. You know, Muldoon finally got their library upgraded. Because we have to rethink what we're doing. And what we're doing many times is they go, well, you know, can we do that? Can we not? You are elected. Your job every day is to think about how you grow your community to the next
I
stage.
wish they would do that to the building department.
Well,
Honestly.
Been working on
many
it.
years ago, someone taught me something, and I'll never forget this. You know, it also depends who the person is. So, for example, anything involving like oil tax changes, it's got to be led by a Republican. Anything involving big education changes, it's got to be led by a Democrat.
We call it the Nixon goes to China.
So sometimes it's like the person you're talking about. A Republican probably couldn't have done the library.
No. Well, Tom Fink tried.
So it's really in the
didn't work.
moment of who you are and what you can accomplish and who you can bring to the table. And sometimes Republicans can do certain things. Like, for example, I think it's too late, but Dunleavy is the one who could have finally said this dividend thing is nonsense and we're going to be honest about it. He didn't do that, but
No.
he's the one who could have done that.
Yeah. You have to think, you got to do the unexpected to make things. I mean, when I had to go to the museum, I'll never forget this. I had to tell 5 different organizations that thought they run the museum, they forgot it's a municipal facility and they don't get to run it, fired all of them. And they were all like, well, you know, one of my good friends didn't talk to me for 2 years. But I said, no, but we're going to revitalize it. We're going to create a different model. And then I had to tell the unions, oh, by the way, you're not going to be a union museum unless they decide as the nonprofit to do that. But everyone who's there, we're going to make sure you're taken care of. And we did that. Today, that museum is world class. Visitors that come to this city, go to that museum, they can't believe Anchorage has that. And it's sitting, I mean, it's kind of the most, you pass it every day, you know, you're driving down 6, you don't notice it sometimes. The minute I hear from visitors, and we're 2 blocks from our hotel, they walk in there, they can't believe what
Well, you're also talking about, I mean, something involving a vision that's more than 2 years away from the next election cycle or 4 years. So you're talking about stuff that's 10 or 20 years away.
No, all that stuff I'm telling you about happened in less than 2 terms. The convention center was built from the idea, vote of the people, assembly approval, to completion in 3 years.
And we're still spending the benefits.
And we're, spending it and enjoying it. But you got to do it. This is what kills me. Everyone's like, well, we should study it some more.
Well, I
Do
want
we
to talk
think,
about
you know?
downtown for a second, because I think this conversation is relevant to some of tonight's results.
Oh, yeah.
There's a narrative right now about downtown and coming downtown and what that means. And not only am I one of the North Anchorage Downtown Assembly members, I myself am a downtown business owner. My optometry clinic is on
You're my eye doctor.
4th and L.
Mine
My
too.
eye
Rick's optical.
doctor.
He's my eye doctor.
He's my eye doctor too.
Wait, are you all your patients?
So there's the
HIPAA
recommendation.
You're
You
gonna
heard
HIPAA violation.
Yeah, whoops.
No, we can
can't
do
believe
it.
for all your-
We disclosed.
But during this assembly race between Sydney Scout, who is looking like she's going to be our assembly member elect tonight, and Justin Millett, you know, he really fed into this narrative that downtown is a black eye for Anchorage. That is not what I'm seeing as someone who spends a lot of time downtown. I'm actually starting to see this bubbling up, this renaissance.
I totally agree.
You know, new restaurants. I'll shout out Whiskey and Ramen and Palmera and Crimson.
Yeah.
You know,
How about Wild Birch Hotel?
Yep,
Wild Birch Hotel.
the investments that we're going to be making into Town Square and Paratovich Park, the project around the downtown library. There's a lot going on, and there are still public safety needs that we're going to be addressing. There's going to be downtown
But street patrols are starting.
Yep, but there's good stuff happening, and I think that a lot of my downtown constituents recognize that. And I think Sydney really pushed back, actually in your forum, Jeff, around this narrative that Justin was feeding into, that downtown is a black eye. I don't think it is, and I think she's right. And I think there's a lot that we can do, but there's progress happening, and I'm actually very excited.
It was kind of funny when he said that. And I've been critical of the problems in the city, but her answer was so good. She says, "Well, I played sports, and I get a black eye sometimes, and it hurts for a little bit, and then it looks pretty bad, but then it heals."
Well,
Right.
And I was kind of like, "Damn, that was a good answer."
That's a good one.
Holy shit!
Justin
that was a
chose
good
to
answer.
focus on the negative, and she chose to focus on the positive, and it's just what is going to resound better with the voter.
Well, here's the thing about the generalizes to all the races except the Midtown, which is too close to call.
I'm calling it.
I'm not. In my appraisal of the races, almost all of the campaigns of the opposition candidates to the incumbents, they were running on describing what I think Anchorage was like in 2023. Like, oh my God, it's terrible in this way, it's terrible in that way. And all of those arguments that I was hearing them make, everything has changed. It is not all fixed, but everything has changed towards the better from them. And so what they didn't understand or communicate very well was how they were going to be part of that change to the good. They were just talking about how bad it was. And it wasn't just the negative piece. They were, in my opinion, literally campaigning on yesterday's issue.
You know, I love what you said, and I think that ties back to what we spoke to about 10 minutes ago, which was how do you get the people that are disenfranchised and not voting to participate, instead of complaining about government because they basically form this emotional wall where just like the negativity is overwhelming, then maybe the message needs to be on the things that we can change, those things that we can affect positively, and bringing people together and then saying, hey, we need your help to make these great things happen, come to the table. Rather than look at all this crap you got to deal with, vote for me so it's less crappy.
Right. That's,
know?
not a,
That's a tough.
that's not a winning message.
It's like, I don't know.
Proven
You
tonight.
mean maybe
I'm not
less
that
crappy?
bad.
Like,
People want to be part of a solution.
Yeah.
That galvanizes people. That energizes
it inspires
people.
them.
Data will show you that there's the most aspirational people on the planet by country is the United States. People believe that there is a better day, but they also understand that they need people to bring them there, help them get there, and leadership is about that. So when a leader says, and you said it, all we're going to do is talk about how bad it is, and you don't say the next part of it, but here's how we're going to get to here, people lose faith in them. I mean, the library example I gave is a great example. If I just walked in and said, you're all fired, have a good day, you can imagine how that would have looked. But we said, but here's where we want to go. Be part of this, and it'll be a better day.
one of the greatest real estate geniuses, he was also a mortgage lender I've ever met. He's a gentleman's named Adam Hefner. And he said, there's always good news in something. So whenever there was a problem, he wouldn't call his clients and say, well, we've got an issue. He would say, good news.
Yeah.
And he would say, we ran a problem, but I have at least 3 solutions. And he'd say, here's the
That's like
solutions,
the Rahm
how we're going to
Emanuel,
come.
never let a crisis go to waste.
No. It was basically just what he did is he learned how to put people in a problem-solving mindset before you throw a problem at them.
Right.
It's like, hey, if I had an issue, then I wouldn't come to Chris and say, Chris, this is the issue, this sucks. And I would say, Chris, you know what I love about you? You're a voracious problem solver, and this is the issue, and this is why I'm so glad I'm working with you on this. Let's do
vision.
it.
Yeah.
And you share the vision, and then they
Yeah.
have participation. But if you just come to them and you just dump crap in their lap, then don't be surprised if they become
Well, they
resistant.
stop communicating.
They-
'Cause
Yep.
why do they want to hear
believe
that?
you. They believe
Yeah,
you.
they walk away and go, no more of that.
We're going to take a quick break. I want to really thank Mark Begich for coming on, Dan Voland. You guys can stick around for a second. We have, I think, 2 candidates on the way.
Awesome.
2 winning candidates. And then we actually have a couple of folks in Juneau who want to call in. And we haven't set up the Zoom link, but I'm going to see if my lovely tech genius. Oh, maybe it's a no. But,
That was a yes. He just spelled it wrong.
See,
He
I got to use
spelled
an
it
opportunity
wrong.
to make
Bring
the
solution,
take that
yeah.
problem to the solution. We're going to come right back. We have a couple candidates coming by. Really want to thank Mark Begich for coming on. Obviously,
Happy to be
GCI is one
there.
of our main sponsors. here. We
Alaska
got
Mining Association, who I just joined
Alaska Miners.
while we were sitting here.
That's a great use of their sponsorship. We have Mark Begich, former senator, mayor,
Thank you.
assembly member, current gas line consultant, not lobbyist, consultant, right?
Right.
And we have Daniel Voland from the assembly. We have a couple candidates coming on, and we'll be right back. Thanks again to our sponsors and for our panel.
How about it for Steve Nelson on the keyboard?
I don't want to be no slave. I don't want sunshine. I don't want you to cook my bread. I don't want you to make my bed. I don't want you coats and blues. I just wanna make love to you. drinking beer and everything, you feel bad because the person you love has walked out the door. What you gonna do? You can't go to church because it's Monday night. The preacher's bowling or something like that, so you can't get no help. There ain't nothing you can do. Go outside and cry. You've probably been there once or twice in your life, unless you're so many little people up front. Yeah, yeah. The sky is crying. Can't you see the tears roll down the street? No, I said the sky is crying, babe. Can't you see the tears roll down the street? Oh, man, it's bad, man. I've been looking for my babe, and I wonder where can she be? Have you seen her, man? I saw my baby early one morning. She was walking on down the street. Yes, I saw my baby early one morning. She was walking on down the street. You know it hurt me so bad. See my poor heart skip a beat, skip a beat, skip a beat. I got a real bad feeling that my baby don't love me no more. Rusty. Baby don't love me no more. You know the sky's been crying. Can't you see the tears roll down my nose? Play me some blues, man. I gotta go down here and talk to the preacher. Yeah. One more drink. I'll probably never see her again.
Invite whoever I invite. Yep, are we live? Hi, folks, we're back. Wonder how much of that was heard. I want to welcome you all back to our Anchorage election coverage. We have Paul McDonough and Sydney Scout joining us, candidate for school board and Anchorage Assembly over here, downtown Anchorage. We're joined by Kevin Cross, Christopher Constant, and we have Daniel Voland, who's kind of inserted himself with a hand mic. I mean, he wanted to be part of the assembly,
old school
downtown delegation.
We've got North Anchorage representing.
You guys are very excited about that. So before we get to our interviews, I want to thank our sponsors, of course, GCI, Alaska Miners Association, which Kevin Cross just joined. Northern Compass Group, Mark Begich was just here, and then Kevin Jardell, Jordan Marshall, two Juneau lobbyists, and of course John Quick, who's been a great sponsor of our Landmine live streams for a while. Sydney Scott, we're going to start with you. I've gotten many texts about the lack of the female representation on the panel here, so I guess we'll just go to you. You're way up. I predicted that. You're downtown. You're running against Justin Millett and then two other people who aren't really campaigning. You ran kind of a pretty exciting campaign. I was in Juneau, but I saw some of the stuff on social media, so tell me what you attribute your victory to here. And you came to our landmine debate, so thank you for coming to that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, it feels good to have a solid margin right now. We worked really hard and ran a campaign that aligned with the values of the district and communicated that to folks. So I think that was, the work was just operating honestly and transparently with the people in the district about who the different candidates are, making it clear what the choice is, and I think we did that effectively.
I got to say that the one metaphor that you turned around was the black eye.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even hear about, and I mean, I can kind of understand it, but we can all say things. But you said, well, I played sports, I got black eyes, they hurt, they get better, and they heal, and I was like, man, she really turned that metaphor around.
Yeah, I mean,
was it thought about that before? Was that like on the fly, or did you?
No, I thought about it before because Justin said that in multiple of the candidate forums that we attended, which I think a lot of folks don't know, just the sheer quantity of candidate forums that are offered and put on for our community, and a lot is said in those spaces, and I learned a lot about my opponent.
Did you feel
in that space
going into this? I mean, I've run for office before, and you really never know. I mean, you can feel a certain way, but it's hard to pull these small races. It's just Daniel was in a one last year where a lot of people thought this Daniel George guy was right there. It was a very kind of public, high-profile race. Did you feel you were going to win by this much, or did you have a little bit of a different idea?
I don't know. I do not know what I felt. I mean,
I have text from Sydney that she thought I was going to be close.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, a landslide victory.
Paul McDonough weighing in here.
By the way, Paul McDonough, yeah.
He's got the receipts.
So I'm giving her some slack here, but she's very modest, and she thought it was going to be razor-thin margin.
So, Paul, you ran for the school board. There's 2 open seats because Andy Holloman and Dave Donnelly are termed out, and then you were in a race with Mr. Darden, he's been here the whole time. Hello, Dustin. And then Sharon Gibbons, who I could not find any APOC reports filed.
Yes.
Maybe she filed them, but I could not find them.
She filed exempt, which
so
which
she
is
raised
a violation.
less than $5,000. Is that what the? Can you even do that? I mean, don't you have to file something? I don't know. Anyways, we don't know. But she didn't campaign that I saw. So you're way up. We can go through the results again, but. Why'd you run for the school board? I don't even know you. First time we met.
Yeah,
earlier, Sydney's like, "Who's this man?"
What were you thinking?
And then somebody was like, "Oh, he was in the assembly for a while years ago. He resigned."
So to the audience, I'm Paul McDonough. I am now, I guess, the front runner for the school board race, but my background is in public education. I started teaching at Wonder Park Elementary in their after-school program in 2012. And then I took a full-time teaching job at Chugiak High School, 2013 through 2021.
What's his neck of the woods?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm in the far north Anchorage part of so we have like North Anchorage and far north Anchorage here. So I'm a Chugiak guy. I have kids in the district. I left the district after COVID to take on a nonprofit leadership job. And with Andy Holloman, who was my former union president, terming out, I reached out to Andy and some of the other board members to say I want to get started and make sure that we still have leadership while ASD is rocked through so many crises right now. And it worked. I mean,
so I asked Sydney this. Did you have any sense of how it was going to go? It was 3 people, and the school board races are kind of famously hard to run because it's citywide instead of these assembly districts are a little more manageable.
Yeah, I think our race is a lot more about fundamentals, and it's a lot harder to throw a wrench into it if we do land all the fundamentals. So our strategy was get out early, get a lot of name recognition for a non-incumbent, and then I basically stopped fundraising in December, January because we met all of our goals, and at that point it was just go to every community event, go to every forum, because these are citywide, there's more than 30 forums that we get invited to for the school board. And so it was just time budget. We had enough in the account to meet all of our goals for ads.
Do you guys find that, I've lived here since '04, and, public media, they used to do these running debates, and, I just feel like we do our landmine debates, and part of the reason I started doing that 5 years ago was because there was nobody covering.
Yeah.
They have these forums, but they're usually attended by a few dozen people. They really aren't live streamed.
They're
If they,
posted on
if
the
they are live
YouTube,
streamed, it's
yeah.
it's one camera, and you really can't hear it. So I feel like it's just it's so hard to get through the noise.
Yeah.
There's all these people, tens of thousands of people voting, and there's really, except the landmine, we are doing our debates, and thank you for coming to that, Sydney. But it just seems really challenging to all this national stuff, and even the governor's
Yeah.
stuff now, and the Senate race, and
Yeah.
there's other things happening.
I mean, I think Paul and I both started campaigning early, and at least my rationale for campaigning early was knowing that this was going to be a really big election year with state legislative, 3 statewide races, all of these things. So I was like, okay, I need to catch people before everybody gets distracted and thinking about the bigger races. But yeah.
I'm going to jump in there and just
Yeah.
say nobody started campaigning early, and it gave me a lot of panic in the context of all these races, because you can file 18 months before the election. That's
Okay.
early.
Earlier than
And
my
8 months
opponents.
is not a lot. And so, yes, you were first in the district and really early in the context
Yeah.
of the races that are happening. But to me, like, I was always file early, do your work diligently, build your base, go for 18 months. Don't waste a minute.
Let's try Daniel's.
Yeah.
Well, I have the
And
power
Mike
mic,
there.
so I have to
Daniel's
use
the
it.
balancing.
No, I just want to say I am very excited to work with Sydney, and I want to
Thank
say a
you.
huge congratulations. And I think you did get out earlier than a lot of candidates. And what I appreciate, and I think one of the reasons that Chris and I, through our strong support behind you, is that you really listened. You went to all of the community councils. District 1, I like to say we're District 1 for a reason. We have the most community councils of of any district. We have 11 of them. And so you really did the homework, and you found out what was important to each neighborhood. I don't think that any of your opponents truly did that. I think that they...
Not Nick Danger?
Well, Nick
They have his
Danger...
cardboard cutout around us.
Nick Danger I've met. He's a really funny
Yeah,
guy.
I would love to
he's
meet
yeah,
him.
he's a very nice guy, I gotta say. But no, I think losing Chris is gonna be it's gonna be big. And I'm thankful for the mentorship that I've had, and I'm really excited to see you step into those shoes and team up and maintain some strong representation for District 1.
Yeah. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm going to take a little congratulation here and say that when I started, there were 11 members. And
Yeah.
the downtown
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
district
You were the guy for a long
was
time.
the
right?
single member district. And what I did is I had to find 2 people to replace me. So now on my way out the door, there's 2 people that are going to cover the bases.
Yeah, very modest.
The
Very
downtown
modest.
district. And so
Very
yeah,
modest.
Still might not.
Still Chris Contz.
no, you'll be fine. You will be fine.
We'll be 2 people doing the work of one person.
So Chris is on his way out, but I'm going to give Chris an outrageous compliment. When I was new on the assembly, I was working on something, and Chris, I asked for Chris' advice, and Chris said, I don't support what you're doing, and I'm probably not going to vote for it, but here's how you get it done. And you told me who to talk to and what to tell the attorneys and where to go over here. And, oh, you know what? They tried this a couple years ago. Go get their research. And you did everything that you could to help me so that we could get it voted on. And you still voted against it, but I would have never even got it to the dais if you hadn't at least contributed. So
We're just bringing it all to the table here.
well, I mean, but that's what you don't see when it's
Yeah.
election year.
Yep.
And that's what I'm hoping the new assembly will bring. I mean, from the outsider and having a little bit of experience on the assembly looking out, I guess my encouragement for the 2 of you is, just bless Anchorage with humble acts of service. And I look forward to this assembly working together for the benefit of all of us.
Agreed.
Because,
Chris,
we are going to continue to live here regardless.
I want to ask you about they went from 1 to 2, so it's 12 members on the assembly. It was 11. To me, an odd number is better because a tie now is a fail, 6 to 6.
It doesn't matter.
Shouldn't we have like 13 or 11 or
No.
Because 7 passes
In the
instead of 6 used
legislature,
to
you got
pass.
20 or 40, excuse me, in the House. In the Senate, you have 20. legislative bodies all over the world have even numbers, and you have to have a majority to prevail, and so it's not such a big deal.
Equal representation, I think, is so key, and especially when you consider where a lot of our tax base comes from in Anchorage. When you factor in the downtown improvement district, and if you were to look at a heat map, we have maps like this.
What's a heat map?
A heat map of where our revenues come from. It's downtown. We have the highest density of tax revenue. So if there was an argument for any district to have adequate representation, it's downtown.
I like that term, heat map.
Some of
Plus,
the property taxes off commercial real estate has got to be astronomical.
yeah, that's right. It's big, and it would be dishonest to say anything otherwise. The vast majority of our social challenges are concentrated in the north and midtown.
Right.
And with the downtown district being a single member, I was running all the time, hard to get ahead. And so I'm super grateful. This is the promise fulfilled. The transition is here, and Daniel has 4 years of experience. The biggest hamstring for the single member district was 3, 6, or 9 years. It didn't matter. There was a member coming in who didn't know anybody, who didn't know how it worked, and had no mentor.
So, Chris,
that knew.
not to be too cliche, Sydney's coming in, you're going out. What's next?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question.
People probably asked you that, I would imagine.
And I'm sticking in that question for a while.
What do you two think? Are there going to be any shifting priorities to the assembly? I mean, where do you think that energy and that refocus is going to be when you look at the landscape of candidates that are prevailing?
I think we're going to continue our work on housing. I think that there's a lot of energy around that with what will be the sort of the next assembly. The revenue question, I think, will be very important. The fiscal cliff that we're.
I think we need a sales tax, like every other city in the state.
I'm sure that
We have
conversation
a million
will
people
come
coming
back.
here every
Well,
summer.
I mean, you need it.
People come from the valley and other parts of the state.
Any investor will tell you diversify your streams of income.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have 60% property tax and other stuff. Most cities our size are half that on the property tax.
And if
dependence.
there's ever a real estate bubble again, and there's value, it does seem like all our eggs are in one basket.
I've gotten a few texts. Somebody's stream cut out. That's Paul McDonough, Anchorage School Board. Somebody was like, "Who's the man in the vest?" I don't know who that is.
Who's
'cause
that man?
Their
Who's
stream
that
cut out. Who's that man? Who are all these men?
Invested
We have
in education.
some maybe surprise guests coming on Zoom, but I do want to go back to Trent. If you can pull up my screen, we're just going to go back again and go through the results one more time. They aren't going to change because that's how it goes now with these vote by mail. So District 1, this is the Sydney Sky. Look at that, man, 54. That's over half, well over half the vote in a four-way race. Nick Danger and Max Powers here, they got a little bit. District 2, this is the Eagle River.
I think the names Powers and Dangers.
Yeah, you'd think they'd get like Powers, Danger,
Scout, and
Yeah.
Constant.
Guys, what's going on down there in this race? Donald Handelin, well up over Kyle Walker in the open. This is Scott Myers is not running for re-election. It's an open seat. We got
True
Brian
blood.
Flynn, Anna Brawley. Anna Brawley's way up over Brian in West Anchorage. Anna's the incumbent. Dave Donnelly,
Perennial candidate Brian Flynn.
Yeah.
Janice, he's only run once. I mean,
No, twice.
is it twice?
This is the second time.
Yeah.
Anna beat him both.
Janice
both
Park's
times.
perennial. I mean, she's run like 8 times for the legislature. Okay, so
I
we
don't
did
know.
open Midtown seat. Felix Rivera's termed out. We got Dave Donnelly up a little bit over Janice Park. Very close race, which, by the way, the landmine did predict he would win barely in a close race. I don't want to brag here, but I did say that. We can go to the
Still more
landmine.
votes to come, still more
I think
votes
the
to come.
panel doesn't have the same
The
prediction.
panel is not as convinced.
I'm on your side.
Okay, we got
Yeah.
two to 4 here. East Anchorage, George Martinez.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be
Yeah.
closer, and it's George. Big win there. Big win, 55 to
Yep.
40%.
Yeah, George is.
He's if he comes on tonight, he's
outreach.
gonna go hot. I
His
guarantee
community
it.
outreach is profound.
We got South Anchorage, Zach Johnson, incumbent. Again, I predicted that was going to happen. It was a weird race. There was that third-party group and a lot of weird mailers and a lot of money in this race. And then we got.
And on your debate,
Okay.
Sharp seemed to really support a lot of Zach's position.
Yeah, it was. They were kind of. That was a debate where they just kind of agreed for the most part.
Well, and she, when I think at least 3 or 4 times, she's like, "Yeah, good point. Actually,
Yeah.
I agree with you. That doesn't help you."
And then we got the school board seat C. This is the Donnelly one. I don't know if this is the Donnelly or
This one was Donnelly.
Yeah, so this is Rachel Blakesley, well up over Rosales, who came after me in a bizarre way, and you shouldn't do that because what is it? Don't mess with people who buy ink by the barrel.
Yeah,
Who came after you?
This Rosales guy,
I've never
Oh.
heard that.
lunatic.
that was William Randolph Hearst.
And then he did say that. That's right.
Now
And then we
it's,
got Paul McDonough. Hey,
That's
hey.
me.
How you doing there, buddy? Look at that, 46.87, 30. Sharon Gibbons, who didn't file any APOC reports, and Dustin Darden, who is in studio. He has been here since before the stream.
Sharon definitely did campaign. I just
I
wanna
actually
be clear
heard
about
something.
I saw her in some
interesting.
forums. I saw her.
I was
here.
out on doors in Mountain View all this
We
past
can go
week.
back to the
She was leaving lit
main
on
screen.
doors, having conversations.
Oh, is that?
Andrew and.
So
Wait, are they coming on the big screen? Or am I just holding it up?
I don't know.
Oh, they're there.
Oh, there. Oh, wow. Okay.
we got a feedback loop.
Hey, mute that. We got a feedback loop. Just give it to Scott. Can you guys hear us? Oh, we've already need it for
We
sound.
can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, Andrew. Or hi, Julie. Hi, Andrew.
It's muted.
Hi.
Unmute. Yeah, we're gonna use that for sound because we aren't set up for that. You guys are in June. I'll be back tomorrow. How you doing there?
It's good.
It's very.
We're doing good.
riveting
I'm
answer.
just watching the results coming in.
Are you?
to
So you're
my,
watching our stream? I guess down there in Juneau.
What did you say?
We couldn't understand you.
Yeah, what'd you say?
You're watching our stream down there in Juneau.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Yes, we are both watching the stream of the election results.
Any
Mandatory
surprises?
viewing.
Any surprises from the election? What do you guys think about what's going on here so far?
I'm a little surprised at the downtown election, but you know, my biggest thing on the assembly is I want balance, and there hasn't been any balance. And so I was hoping that there would be a couple conservatives that would, you know, try to balance the assembly. And so we'll see, you know, the ultimate results. But the initial results seems like there will not be any balance on the assembly per usual.
It looks like the only
I
hope
have a
for
different
one
opinion.
flip is the Donnelly one, if that holds. Andrew has probably a
Yeah.
different idea about this.
I do.
For sure.
I mean, I obviously I'm watching the Midtown seat closely. Janice Parks is down a little bit, so we'll see how it looks when more results come in. But yeah, I was hoping for a clean sweep from my side, and we're not quite there.
Andrew, I want to ask you. You've been in the news here a bit. You've had a bill, HB 101, that was passed by the House unanimously a year ago, which raises the age of consent from 16 to 18, which it's kind of bizarre. Actually, 30 states, it is 16. I looked this up, so I thought it was more. But right now, a 16-year-old can have sex with a 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old, and that's okay, which to me I think is bizarre.
That's the law.
But you passed
That's
this
correct.
bill a year ago, 39-0 in the House. It's been in the Senate for a year. Senator Clayman hasn't moved it. It's starting to get very public. There's been some op-eds written. The head of STAR wrote one in the Landmine, and there was another op-ed in the ADN. This has become a very public issue. Why do you think he's holding the bill, and do you think it's going to get a vote in the Senate before the end of session?
Well, I think those are questions for the chair of Senate Judiciary. If you look at the reporting, it says that he's looking to use it as a base for an omnibus crime bill. Obviously, I think the bill is extremely important. I think it stands on its own. As you pointed out, it passed the House unanimously. I would like for it to move to the Senate floor and pass as a standalone bill. Obviously, what I care most about is that the policy becomes law. Alaska, the rape rate is more than 3 times higher than the national average. Our child sex abuse rate is sky high. The least we can do is protect 16 and 17-year-olds from having to go to court and prove that they didn't consent when they have been preyed upon by predators.
Well, it was 6 weeks left in the session. I mean, there's not going to be an omnibus crime bill. It's almost impossible unless there was, I guess, a big effort. Everybody agreed. It's almost impossible to have a bill like that pass with 6 weeks left.
I mean, yeah, Jeff, I worry. I do have worries, but I'm going to keep advocating for the bill to move forward, and I'm going to do the best that I can. And I appreciate the support that I've gotten from the public.
Julie, what do you got some things you're working on? You're on the resources committee, and there's been a lot of hot. Mark Begich was here earlier, and we talked about his kind of very candid words he used that maybe you guys aren't used to hearing from the AGDC people or the Glen Farm people a few weeks ago in the House Resources Committee.
Hey, so I'm all for the pipeline. So I think Mark Begich helping to advocate for the pipelines a big plus. He could say things that maybe I could say the same thing and people don't receive it. I think it's important for the state for the pipeline to move forward. As long as we can negotiate whatever terms we need to with the mayors of the boroughs, like, let's move it forward. I think it's a big boom for the state. So I'm a big proponent of the pipeline.
Any of the panelists have anything for Julie or Andrew? Well,
Yeah,
this is an assembly race, but we do have some Juneau folks here, which is great.
Well, I'll just respond to Rep. Colomb. I disagree on both counts. I'm very unsurprised by Sydney's apparent victory. And there seems to be this misunderstanding
shots fired.
of representatives from South Anchorage not understanding the North Anchorage district, whether that's former assembly members from South Anchorage or representatives from South Anchorage. I don't know that they have a full appreciation for the urban issues that North Anchorage actually faces. And so I think tonight we've received a mandate from the voters to say, keep making progress, keep moving in the same direction, tackling homelessness, making pathways for housing, transportation issues, and so I'm just grateful for the results.
I'm going to let Julie answer that.
I'll answer that.
Oh
So
boy, here we go.
the Anchorage Assembly's been attacking my district for many years. They don't like the hillside. They don't want to hear what the needs we have here. We have been open to what's happening throughout the city. I would never throw areas of the city under the bus like some people have done on my district, the hillside. And so if you want to, you want to do this downtown versus hillside fight, you can do that. It's not that we don't understand what's going on, but we are not attacking downtown. Downtown has been attacking the hillside for many, many years.
Dan?
So I'm going to jump in now.
Well, Chris is jumping in.
At the 50th anniversary of the municipality's unification, it was awesome at the museum. Jane Angvik was one of the speakers, and she stood up and said, back when we voted for unification, at the end of C Street, there was this battle that just didn't seem it was ever going to end. It was hillside versus downtown. She said, it's not like that anymore. And I laughed. Jane, it is the same story. And so there's no argument that hillside hasn't taken aggression against the North. The North has responded. In fact, I actually offered Representative Colomb to sit down for coffee. She scoffed at me and said, I don't see the point. And so that's the nature of the relationship.
This conversation is the greatest thing for Eagle Exit I've ever heard.
This is also great for the landmine show.
What are we going to watch?
I want to let Julie answer. that.
Let Julie respond, and then I have something I need to say about this.
Andrew's weighing in. Here we go.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Hang on, we need
I'm joking.
Chris is not wrong, but Chris has attacked my district over and over, year after year. And all I hear is characterizations of the hillside. We sit around, we're rich, we're privileged, we sit around and eat bonbons. That's not my district. I have trailer parks, I have apartments, I have very wealthy people in my district. It's been mischaracterized for years. And so I don't see the purpose of trying to sit down and talk. Right. Why?
Exactly.
Because I've been attacked in my district. My people have been attacked over and over. So I don't see there's any reason to try to resolve that.
I got to point to one thing.
He's never gone south of Tudor. Okay, so you don't think I go to Spinard or Mountain View? You have said on the record you never go south of Tudor. So what do you know about my district?
I've been south of Tudor with Chris, but I want to point out tonight the CASA bond is passing. Both of the downtown reps on the assembly voted to put that before voters. That is a mechanism for ARDSA residents, which includes downtown, to help fund facilities on the hillside, roads, streets, to help with deferred maintenance in the LRSAs that don't contribute to our parks or our roads when people drive down from the hillside to go to Costco. So it is
for park access.
It is not accurate to say that the downtown reps haven't supported South Anchorage.
Andrew wanted to weigh in. I'm going to give Andrew a minute.
Go ahead.
Hey, I want to say something. So
This is a great
I'm
show.
super grateful for Christopher Constant's service for the last 9 years. I'm friends with Daniel Voland, and I am happy that Sydney Scout won. Congratulations, Sydney.
Thanks.
But I just want to say that in Juneau, working in the legislature, that there is a lot of Anchorage hate. And I just want to point out that there has been no stronger advocate for what's best for Anchorage than Julie Colomb. And Julie Colomb routinely asks, where is Anchorage in this conversation? What does Anchorage get out of this policy? How can we better support Anchorage in a way that I don't think any other Anchorage legislator has ever done it since I've been serving here. So as much as like I want to just kind of stop this back and forth right now, I love the guys that are talking right now. I love Sydney. I love Julie. And I'm super grateful. You guys should be grateful for
Andrew
what
Gray
Julie
is the
has
bridge
done.
built. I'm the bridge builder. Andrew's taken my role here. I mean, this has been. I mean, I want to thank you guys both for calling in. It's late in June. I'm flying back tomorrow.
Thank you.
We are coming just for the viewers. The House will be debating budget amendments this week. It's going to get weird, as usual, because of what I call the dividend delusion. But we're coming up on 6 weeks out. You guys are going to pass the operating budget. Maybe end of the week, next week, the Senate's going to pass the capital budget. It's going to go back and forth. By the time we know it, it's going to be May, and we're going to be talking about trying to get out of town. So we have Andrew Gray from the majority, Julie Colomb from the minority. You guys work together. I like that. And just like the Assembly, I will say a lot of these votes in Juneau are very 38-0, 29-10. They're very 35-5. They're very close. So it's not all divided like we like to focus on.
Well, one last thing. I would still offer a cup of coffee to reach out and figure out how to make a better connection.
I will host that right here in our studio.
These district lines on the map only matter to politicians.
Yeah.
When you are a member and you are a resident of Anchorage, you want all of Anchorage to be great. So I encourage us all to work together for a great Anchorage.
I just feel like as a Midtown person, I didn't realize there was that much hate between downtown
and when I served
South
on AMATS with Dan, I fought vigorously for downtown and projects, understanding that although I'm in Eagle River, Anchorage is still part of, Eagle River is still part of Anchorage. We got to work together.
Look at the position
because
of
if
the
we
camera.
don't, the rest of the state is happy to take all the money away.
Julie Colomb, Representative Julie Colomb, South Anchorage, obviously.
Good night,
we're on
everybody.
the hillside, we know that. And then Andrew Gray, UMed, a Democrat, majority member, chair of the House Judiciary Committee. Thank you both for coming on. You've really spiced up our Anchorage election coverage 2026 at 10:05 p.m. So appreciate you both. I want to thank Trent and Scott and Stephen for making the Zoom link possible, because we didn't have that set up because we were doing only in person. So I'm very excited about that. I think we're gonna.
I didn't think we'd ever wade out of that, man.
Yeah, man. So seriously,
North Anchorage, South Anchorage.
Is Anchorage, is the hillside and downtown?
It's so awkward being in the middle of this.
Well, no,
I was
Midtown is actually got
Are you
a
guys
whole
that
set of
fucking against
challenges
each other?
unto itself.
Jesus.
We support South Anchorage.
Because that just seemed like, oh God, that
I
devolved
think that's
quickly.
more personal
Yeah,
than
that's
anything
personal.
else. And I tried.
Sydney's like, what have I gotten myself into?
So, and one
honestly
thing I
tried.
will say is that, regarding the change in downtown, the significant changes now that you have two representatives.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Chris was the lone crusader in a desolate world for the longest time. And so, although I can't speak from the historical perspective like you have, because I don't, but I can only imagine being the only individual trying to represent downtown when everybody else is trying to represent their districts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be a fight.
Backwards and in heels.
It's where does the money come from, and how do we ensure fairness when it comes to those resources? And that has been, historically, I would argue, North Anchorage, I was talking earlier about where the tax base comes from. When you look at the proportion of where the tax base comes from, I would argue that North Anchorage has been disadvantaged. And part of that may be...
Can we just say downtown? A couple of years ago, they started saying North Anchorage. No one knows what that means.
It spans all the way to Turpin.
It includes,
Well, I will point
How
out
about downtown
the
plus?
interesting thing that
Let's say downtown plus.
I will point out that Davis Park is in Eagle River District. That's District 2, and yet we're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I just feel like North Anchorage, it sounds to
We've
me
left
like...
you. We've even given you
Chugiak,
like the
but
part
it's
of Eagle River
different.
we don't want to take a
Downtown
responsibility.
plus.
South, east, west, and Midtown.
Yeah.
Before we end the stream here, I want to go through one more time. Trent, T-Bone, pull me up the screen here. We're going to just do one more quick run through for the results. Obviously, Sydney Scout here, well up in District 1. This is the open seat. Chris Constant is termed out from. District 2, this is the Eagle River open seat. Scott Myers is not seeking re-election. Donald Handelin well up over Kyle Walker. We got the West Anchorage, Anna Brawley, the incumbent, well up over Brian Flynn, the challenger, a rematch from 2023. He did lose by less this time. I think it was 17 points 3 years ago, so that's been a bit of an improvement there. Midtown Anchorage, open Senate or open Assembly seat. Felix Rivera is termed out. Dave Donnelly up just a few votes, less than 100 votes over Janice Park. 17% coming back, so this is going to be a close one either way. East Anchorage, George Martinez, incumbent, way up over Cody Anderson, the challenger. South Anchorage, Zach Johnson, well up over Bruce Ferguson and Janelle Sharp, 2 challengers. And then we have the school board, Alexander Rosales, who decided to come after me in a very aggressive way. It didn't work out for him. Rachel Blakesley is way up over him.
7,000 votes exactly, right?
Yeah, look at that. I mean,
Just doesn't
that's a
know you
lot.
like we do.
Yeah, well, he messed with the wrong one. And then we have Paul McDonough over here. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
People are saying, who's the guy in the vest?
That's me.
That's you, and you're a 46. You're not quite over. If this was ranked choice voting, though, we'd have to go to the
Next round.
tabulation. But
Yep.
this is a plurality situation. And then some of the I mean, I think the only ones, there was a few school bonds that were close.
Hey, we should talk about the
the-
Girdwood Board of
The
Supervisors.
433 write-ins.
Girdwood Board
Who
of
got wrote in?
Where's that at? Girdwood Board.
It's down there. You just passed it. G.
Is that
There you go.
Oh shit, Bryce Wilbanks.
So
This was Bronson's former deputy
Chief of Staff.
chief of staff.
realize that.
He couldn't make her. He's about 30 votes.
Tight.
No, 20 votes. Not even 22 votes or something. Am I mathing right?
13,
22,
9,
87,
22,
97, yeah, 22.
He had
Wow.
an
He's
interesting,
actually a fairly
interesting exit
he's a
from the
very
municipality.
talented individual, actually. Like carpentry.
He got my
movie
face
handling.
once during
He's a mountain biker.
the mask mandate stuff.
Well, I'm not speaking
Let's
personally.
go
I'm just
through
saying,
the
he's a skilled individual.
let's go through the bonds real quick. These didn't change because we only have one. Capital improvements is basically tied. The no is winning by like ever so much. That's interesting.
130 or so.
Anchorage roads, we got, that's a big yes. Parks bond, big yes. Metropolitan bonds, yes, closer. Community facilities bond, yes. Not big, but yes. Area-wide public safety, that's a yes. Fire service is a yes. Here's the Chugach State Park. This is yes, but a little bit closer. Is that the CASA bond?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's.
And that's going to
Yes.
finish construction up at the Basher Trailhead.
Then we got the, this is the levy, right?
Yep.
This is interesting. This is interesting.
Yeah.
No is, both school ones, no is up by less than 300. That's interesting. Wow.
Well, the other one
tight.
is about 100, 120.
Under
120
1%.
is
This is within the margin, I think. I mean,
Yeah, it
this
is. And here's what's interesting and diagnostic about those two. You had the school district make
Get off the screen there.
a difficult decision to close some schools, and one of them in particular had a huge base of support. They came out very emotional, and there was a bond that passed to upgrade that school a year ago. And so the parents are like, wait, you have bond money to fix the school and you're closing it. And so what we saw play out is what I'm afraid for you guys is coming, which are very difficult decisions about what to cut, what to reduce, and the pain that it's going to create.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I just thought based on the support of raising the base student allocation and the public support of increasing student funding, I just thought it was going to pass by a lot. And this is interesting
No,
to me
this
that
didn't shock me at all.
this is interesting that it's so. I mean, I think maybe the voters don't want to pay for special taxes.
I mean, I
For
think
education,
they've
they
lost
wanna-
trust in the.
Well, the feedback I got campaigning for school board is there's a big support for the concept of publicly funded schools. There's a big question mark about the leadership of the district right now.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Rachel and I won, and we have both majority endorsement of this board. So the policy direction is in the right place. We need equitable schools. We need them to be accessible to every student. And our model seems to be the right model, but people are saying we need some leadership
Do you think
shift.
this could be a message
So-
that some of the parents are sending about they're angry the schools are closed?
Yes.
Yeah,
We're not going to
need
give you
some
money
leadership.
when you're
Yeah.
closing schools. We want you to fix the
In
problem.
particular, one school had hundreds of people who signed petitions.
Campbell STEM?
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
so that
Campbell.
would
I've
be-
actually heard, I've gotten many emails about that from parents.
Right. And so that's
Want
enough.
me to look into it?
That's enough to have swung that bond. That the parents only of that school are enough to have made the difference of the number if it doesn't flip.
Yeah.
You know, regarding the school board candidates, the questions to me from my constituents and people that surround me were different than the past. In the past, it was, what do you think about the vision? This election, when I had people calling asking my opinion, it was like, who's new, who's not on the board, and I want fresh blood. I want somebody else. Who should I be voting for? Of course, I always, I try to direct people towards resources where they can do their own research because I don't know it all.
They can watch the landmine debates.
Not for school
There you
board.
go, which I do quite a bit, but you should do some school board ones.
We don't do school board.
I mean, in fairness, and this
But you
feels like
should.
City's got
this feels like beating a dead horse, but we have been the state has been chronically underfunding public education.
And it's
all-
getting
all
worse
throughout the
every
state.
year, not better.
And we've had a very anti-education, anti-public education governor. And so we need new leadership at the state level, I think, before things are going to improve, because our
I will
current
say,
school board
I saw
is-
Rachel Blakesley. I don't really know her, but I saw her speak it was online at a forum, and she said something that I really agreed with. So there's this more funding crowd, and there's this more accountability crowd, and it seems like you have to be one or the other. I think we should spend more money on education. I think we should have more accountability.
Yeah, Rachel.
So I
and
think both of
both-
those things should happen.
We both coming from the classroom for almost a decade each, and then going into senior nonprofit executive leadership, where you can spend a lot of money and have a lot of accountability. So we both come with that background of what does it take to actually measure the success of students, and then filter that feedback into the system so that you're improving next year.
So at our last assembly meeting, we approved the school district.
I was going to ask about that because that was controversial, and you got attacked for leaning on members, or they said you didn't.
And I'm going to say it again right now, that the charter very much limits the assembly's role in the approval of the school district's budget. It's ministerial. We approve the budget. Now, there was one member who argued, we need to make sure that the school district is accountable. And the school board is the elected entity whose job it is to provide accountability for the school district, not the assembly. The charter is very clear. And our role in the budget is amount up, amount down, or amount approved. And if you don't vote yes, it goes into effect anyways. And so my peers, who I love and respect, some of them, if we approve this budget, we are signing on to the cutting of these schools. No, you're not. What you're doing is your duty to the charter to approve the budget passed by the school district. It's not our job they need to do accountability.
Why do they even need to pass it?
Because we levy.
Yeah,
We
because
levy.
the property tax, well, not just property,
A
but yeah, all the
personal
tax.
question here, without being, how
yeah.
many people at this table have children they've put through the school district?
I mean,
Okay,
I-
fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
Because let me tell
I
you
don't
something.
mean-
The reason I
I'm
say
not
that's so
going
important, because there's a huge thing that is critically missing after putting 2 children and 3 foster children through public school. An intentional mission for parental involvement.
Yeah.
Guys, the system right now does not reward or incentivize parental involvement. And if the children are engaged in their education, I don't care how much frickin' money you dump at it, the kids don't care. Because when they come home, there's not a cultivation and a culture of embraced education. It's not a money issue.
No, it is a money issue.
Well, I mean,
you got to
no,
pay
it is.
teachers. You got
Georgetown
to
tell you
University,
what, listen, you can say that, but I tell you what, man, I mean, you can
It can be
utility.
both. You can walk and
if
chew
they're-
bubblegum at the same time. So
you
Georgetown
can't buy
University
compassion. You can't. There's not enough
Yeah, I
money
can't
to pay
spend
someone
money
else
on
to be
parents to
compassionate.
get
and
involved.
parental.
Actually, I
Kevin,
can.
here's one thing though. This has always been difficult for me because I agree in theory with this principle that schools where students are there whose parents are engaged do better, period. That's logic and it's simple. However, in my district, we have a number of schools where the parents are working 2 jobs. Both parents, they have 1 car or no car between them. They're
Yes.
riding the buses that barely work. They can barely keep shoes and clothes and the lights on to feed their kids while their kids are going to school. And so if the argument is the way it works is when the parents are involved, that means then only the places where the parents have the luxury of providing that to them will they get an equal education. And so we have to actually educate kids in both universes, where they have a well-resourced family who can show up and be there and where they don't. Because I threw a block party in Fairview before I was elected. Those kids were coming with no shoes to the block party in July. No shoes. We were providing shoes to those children, not because their parents didn't want to give them shoes, they could not afford to give them shoes. And so we have this diversity of economics, diversity of means, Anyhow, so I agree with you, and it's more complicated than just simply having parents involved.
And
We could have 100% parent involvement with
So-
35 kid classes, and that's still not a system.
No,
that
and
can
you're
be
right. But
sustained.
that's in order to bridge some of that gap. It's bringing some of the parents and helping get volunteers in the classroom. When we had 3 foster children, all 3 of them were 2 years behind. In the 2 years they spent with us, they went from being 3 years behind to being a proficient and above. Now, is that because? And I tell you what that was. That was because I was in there every week, and I was talking to the teachers. I had teachers that were literally sending one of our foster children. She would just not do her homework, say she didn't understand it. They would put her in a special ed class, and the special ed teacher was doing the homework and sending it back. And she was getting, it was like she's finishing her class. I go, her handwriting and her reading, she doesn't understand who's doing her homework. Her homework was in somebody else's handwriting. I had to go down to the school and tell them, quit doing her work. She has to learn to fail on her own merits. But this is a child who's being shuffled in.
Embargo the school district.
No, the solution is parental involvement, because without somebody who cares for that child, because that poor teacher, what's happening is, you're right.
So
It's
Chris should have
class
voted
sizes
no
where there's
because we have
53
enough
children in
parents who are not involved.
When there's
That's what
one
I'm
teacher and
asking.
50 kids,
No, and I think
do the math on how much time they can
We
spend
have
on
to
each kid.
square this reality. This goes back to we need both funding and accountability, right? That's this. We need both of these things. We need a system that meets the kids where they are, and that's the hardest part.
I think
And,
that,
and
I think
loves
that,
them compassionately.
I think that was one of the things that was very hard. It made it very hard to take that vote. Is that you had a school community where the parents were very involved, and they went through this lengthy process to get that STEM accreditation. The only STEM accredited school in, I think, Alaska. I think all of Alaska, not even just
You
Anchorage.
got less than 14 days notice it's being shut down.
Right, and so
I agree, that's
4
wrong.
days, yeah.
But how do we allow for our public school system to be innovative, whether that's things like STEM education or what King Tech is doing to get kids involved in various trades? And I just don't think that underfunding is going to make the situation better. And the type of underfunding that we're talking about is not even keeping pace with inflation. And so I think it's both. I think it's innovating in the education space. I think it's getting parents involved, but I also think that it is investing our resources.
Well, getting parents involved is not as easily legislatable of an issue. You can start to invest in these feedback systems that bring parents closer to the classroom, but that's a pretty low return on investment when you look at the grand scheme of things. When class size 35, class size 25, that's an instant return on investment. The mechanisms that we have in research to get parents involved are 20 years long. They take an incredible amount of public
my
machinery.
dad worked at the post office. He was retired Navy, post office full time. He worked swing shift. He worked graveyard shift. My mom was a waitress. They weren't around a lot, but they impressed upon me how important education was. They always, my dad used to always tell me, you have to do better than I did. You have to do well in school. I mean, it was very, as much as they could be involved. And I mean, this is like a cultural problem where we see a lot of parents, and I have friends that are teachers, a lot of parents just never even ask their kids what they're doing. So I don't know, we can't solve that. This is a cultural problem in society where many parents have no involvement in their kids' education. And that's a big problem. We can't solve, nobody can solve that.
I spend time in South Anchorage regularly working out at my friend's gym. No, all the way down at Huffman.
You go south of Tudor?
All the way to Huffman.
Holy shit.
And I go to my friend's gym and work out in their garage, and his wife is lovely and she keeps me fit, but her husband is a senior military guy, and he substitute teaches at a school kind of close, but where there's some needs, kind of a Title I school. And the school is begging him to stay and be there because they don't have anyone who can provide what his ability to nurture. And like the breakdown is so systemic in our kind of school district up here right now that it is crumbling in all the corners, and ultimately money is the fuel that makes it work. And I have hope that the school bond flips because it's close enough. I don't think that the levy will because it's far enough apart, but I think it's all of the above, and we have a duty to our kids. I'm never going to have a kid in the school district, and I gladly pay my bill. I'm not one of those people who says, I never did, why am I paying? No, I gladly pay because they're the ones who are going to be in these seats in 30 years when we are,
Well, One of the programs that the Assembly has supported in the past, and I think, Kevin, when you were on the Assembly, you supported this. We've used alcohol tax funds in the past and then marijuana tax funds, and that's for a program here called Best Beginnings. They are the ones who distribute the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. It's an early literacy program.
Oh my God, that was a big
And
topic of contention at the House Finance Committee last year.
right?
Galvin, they spent like an hour on that for like $50,000.
Well, it wasn't for the
Dolly
Assembly.
Parton, imagine that was.
We're limited in
PTSD
the
from
ways that
era
we
then.
can support education, but this is one of those things. There's a lot of research around. So what they do is they send books for free in the mail. Parents can sign up, and including lower income families who maybe wouldn't be able to regularly afford books and learning resources. And there's a lot of research around what that does for parental bonding to read books to kids. And so
My parents used to read to me almost every night.
yeah, and so there's, I think,
pretty big.
an example that we have supported.
I'm a great reader.
Parental involvement, and we need to do more around, I think, early education and childcare. We're looking at how do we creatively use the alcohol or the marijuana tax funds for that. So there are things that we can do. I think that we can make progress on.
Well, and you're absolutely right. I don't think that there's nearly enough focus on the youth. And whether it's from Chris's great work at the Covenant House, understanding that, when you look at the homeless numbers, they don't realize every day the dozens that are aging out and hitting the streets. They're like, well, where's my money going? Well, I tell you where your money went. It's going towards helping. Every time we get 12 off the street, 12 are coming in because there's this conveyor belt of not investing in children who are disparaged or come from or have a childhood trauma or coming from troubled households. They're like, where'd the money go? It's not like people just quit getting old. Like they age and they come in. And then if you're upset about police officers and their behavior, well, they're children who grew up in our communities and became police officers. If you don't like what's happening in politics, they're children who grew up in our neighborhood and became your politicians. So invest more in the children, and then it's like planting seeds for the future. And we don't nearly do that enough.
I think that's
We put out the fires of today, not really. We don't plant the seeds for tomorrow. You're not going to have the fuel you need.
I think that's a great place to end the show.
Yep.
We're getting into the hard education.
Go
I
kids.
kind of want to give Sydney Scott the last word here because I have gotten many text messages about the lack of kind of women diversity here in the show, and I'm really happy you came because I was getting, I don't know, just whatever you want to say. Do you want to talk about your win or how you're?
Are you going to Disneyland?
Daniel said you got a mandate.
Yeah.
What's
yeah,
the mandate?
What do you want to work on?
Yeah, what's your big thing you want to do?
I mean,
Put you on the spot.
yeah, God. I mean, I genuinely want to keep the good work moving forward. I've been really supportive of what Mayor LaFrance is doing, what the majority of the Assembly is moving forward. I don't want to pretend that I'm going to jump in and change everything. I'm eager to learn how it all works and support the good stuff happening and look at ways that we can continue, I think.
What did you hear at the doors?
I mean, what I heard at the doors is also reflective of what I hear in my own network. One thing I've talked about on this show is the working age population is the #1 demographic of folks leaving Anchorage right now. It's that 25 to 40 age range, and it's really not that complicated. People need places to live, and they need places to work, and those jobs need to be able to pay for where they can live. And
Good
so,
schools.
And they want to go to the parks
and good schools.
and they want to go to the parks and the trails and feel safe.
Yeah, good schools for their
single-track
kids. Trails, nice, it's about quality of life, and affordability right now is obviously huge. And so thinking about how we can center that on the Assembly and make sure that, I think housing is a huge piece of the conversation. I think that's something specifically in North Anchorage that comes up again and again. We've had 2 sort of referendums on housing positions. Both times it's been clear that our district supports candidates who are pro-housing density. Obviously we have to be intentional about that, but we've had 2 referendums. There's this, been interesting dynamics of, a few specific neighborhood leaders who are not happy with that, but that's what I heard on doors.
The NIMBYs.
Yeah.
I call them the NIMBYs.
Okay,
Yeah,
so here's
but-
another question. So there's, in the North District, we've talked a lot about the kind of diversity between certain parts of the district. What are your thoughts on how we're going to maintain representation for our friends in the kind of Mountain View and Fairview areas?
Yeah. I am proud of the number of doors I knocked in those areas and the attention we've all paid to these communities. And I think continuing to pay that attention, it's not just a campaign bit, like we need to keep showing up, keep listening, keep championing the leaders and their ideas for their own neighborhoods, and that's true of every neighborhood in the district.
It's going to be interesting. There's going to be a new assembly, and then we're going to get into it in a few months here after these legislative races. We're going to have a mayoral race next year, so we're going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on here.
Yeah.
With the August primary coming up. We got the governor's race. 18 candidates so far. We have Mary Peltola, Dan Sullivan. We have Nick Begich with Matt Schultz and Bill Hill. So we have 50 legislative races. It's going to be a lot going on. There's the ranked choice voting repeal. So we're going to be doing election live coverage, Election Central, for the primary in August and for the general in November. I want to thank our panel very much for the second year in a row. Chris Constant over here, Kevin Cross, and then our kind of bonus panel. We got Daniel Voland was here for a long time. We had Mark Begich earlier, Paul McDonough, school board winner, Sydney Scout, downtown Anchorage winner.
Token woman.
The woman, thank God we had a female, and Julie Cologne was on to promote, because I was getting texts. I was getting, I just see everybody as individuals, okay? So I invited a lot of people and diversity of thought.
One last note to all those people who say to those of us up here, why would you go on landmine? And
Who said that?
a lot of people. And so my answer is listen to this conversation and take away from it what you will. If you can't find some good stuff there, then it's not an
Especially
us.
that.
It's not an us problem.
Julie Cologne, Andrew Gray.
It's a you
That
problem.
was awesome.
Yeah, so know that. It's not us, it's you if you can't find the gem in this conversation.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for that, Chris. Thanks for the panel. Thanks to Stephen, Trent, and Scott for putting together a great show. Thanks again to our sponsors, GCI, the Alaska Miners Association, with a new member. It's a great use of their sponsorship money. Northern Compass Group, Mark Begich's consulting firm, lobbyists Kevin Jardell and Jordan Marshall, and of course John Quick down there in the Kenai, who's been a longtime sponsor of Landmine Live and our shows. Stay tuned for our next show. I'll be going back to Juneau tomorrow. If you don't buy the Alaska Political Report, please get a hold of me. I'll give you a good deal, which is what it costs, the price.
Which is a good deal.
See you guys next time.
Bye.
Thanks.